away from the party headquarters. This is the General Council location, which is on the Bangalore-Chennai highway and completely decked up for the big event. Most likely that the party in a unilateral leadership that is under the leadership of Edappadi K Palanisawmy, that is the former Chief Minister, including he'll be the single head. Earlier it was Jayalalithaa, and now the General Secretary, which will be EPS in all likelihood in the next few hours. Look at the decoration. He was welcomed by the cavalcade of horses. There was band baja. People are supporting. Let me show you the slogans that is being raised here at this point of time. These are all EPS supporters showing victory symbols. You can see the moment court order came, they're celebrating that EPS has won clearly and justice has been prevailed. The General Council meeting will go ahead as per the High Court order, and unfortunately for OPS, even the court could not give him a despite here or give him a solution. So the majority numbers as we speak are with EPS and not OPS. So he will have to agree to the majority of verdict that it won't be a joint leadership, but the of AIADMK henceforth will be.
Which essentially, Akshay, means that the former Chief Minister Edappadi K Palanisawmy is going to wrest control of the AIADMK, and he's going to do so single-handedly. No role for O Pannerselvam, essentially. Akshay.
Oh, well, yes, Neha, what we're seeing here today is a huge victory for Edappadi K Palanisawmy. Right now, the Madras High Court has given a green signal to go ahead with the General Council meeting, and as per schedule at 9:15 a.m. we're being told that the GC meeting will begin at Srivaru Mahal, which is in the outskirts of Chennai city. And outside the AIADMK headquarters, we can see that police are guarding a barricade, and the other side is the EPS faction trying to breach in. Stone pelting as well as throwing of wooden sticks have all been repeatedly happening here every few minutes. Multiple cadres of both the sides, both EPS and OPS faction, have been bleeding. Right now you can see how police officials are standing guard here. They're trying to control the law and order situation. It is a very tough scenario. Yes, police officials were given a heads up by AIADMK members itself that things might go out of hand, but this kind of an unruly behavior outside the AIADMK headquarters from the end of these cadres was very much unexpected, because the AIADMK was a party which was known for having a military discipline. AIADMK's J Jayalalithaa had ensured that her cadres always remained uniformed and also never behaving in this unruly manner. You can see banners which have been stripped out. All of these are banners of Edappadi K Palanisawmy, and even inside the AIADMK headquarters we can see how the OPS faction members are standing guard, and this is not a pleasant sight at all, because yes, this is a huge setback for OPS, but already he's come inside the headquarters and he's kept his seat here, almost like stating that he's taking claim of the AIADMK. But as per the party bylaws, will it stand? Well, no, because the majority of members are with Edappadi K Palanisawmy, the former Chief Minister of the state, and he clearly has more number of people, at least from the GC Council, on his side, which indicates that he will get what he wants right now, and that would be an interim General Secretary's post till an election is done. And also there are high likelihood of action being taken against O Pannerselvam also for the kind of behavior that he and his faction members have shown. And also we are being told that there will be amendment of bylaws. So as per the list that was given out by the AIADMK initially, they had said that they will be amending the law where the dual leadership will be cancelled out and again a single leadership will be brought in. And in the court, we had heard Edappadi K Palanisawamy's counsel also informing the learned judge that O Pannerselvam can also contest for the upcoming General Secretary's post, and nobody is stopping him from that. But the kind of scene that we have seen here, it is very indicative that Edappadi K Palanisawmy had a majority of numbers, a majority of MPs and MLAs on his side. And right now at the AIADMK headquarters, the supporters of O Pannerselvam have taken the entire building, and also Edappadi K Palanisawamy's supporters have been put outside with police denying them permission. So what will happen next is something that we'll have to wait and watch. But this is a very unlikely and very unfortunate situation that we're seeing at the AIADMK headquarters. Sneha.
Well, absolutely, Akshay, getting us all of those details and those pictures to tell our viewers who've joined us. Remember, O Pannerselvam was largely seen as somebody who had the blessings of late Jai Jayalalithaa and was seen to be her political heir, but that was not to be. Essentially, what the court has done is that it has given its green signal to Edappadi K Palanisawmy, the former Chief Minister of Tamil Nadu, to then take over the AIADMK in a sense. But this is a controversy that's not going to be dying down anytime soon. R. Rajgopalan, senior journalist, is also now joining us. Thank you so much for your time. In spite of the court giving a green signal to EPS, it does not appear that there is going to be smooth sailing for him. What are your thoughts looking at these pictures from today, a few moments ago, of this crisis, stone pelting and tamasha at the AIADMK headquarters in Chennai?
It's a very sad day for ADMK because Jayalalithaa thought that she will rule the Tamil Nadu state for 100 years. That's what she claimed in her speeches. Apart from that, it's a great victory for EPS, Edappadi Palanisawmy, and a defeat for Mr. O Pannerselvam. Apart from that, to understand and put it in the right perspective, I would like to enlighten your viewers that the current ongoing violence is between two communities. One is saver, another is gounder. So therefore, the ADMK is divided in the caste factor. Mr. Edappadi Palanisawmy is a gounder and O Pannerselvam is a saver. Therefore, it's a caste war. That's what, ADMK cadre are all apprehensive of this. And apart from that, my understanding is Edappadi Palanisawmy will be elected as a temporary general secretary and he will run the show. But at the same time, O Pannerselvam will also go to Election Commission and approach Supreme Court to nullify whatever happening in today's General Council meeting. Whatever is said that in the fight between ADMK, the DMK led by MK Stalin will get benefited, and also the other political party which will get major benefit about the opposition camp is BJP. Therefore, my understanding is in 2024 Lok Sabha elections, it is going to play a long game. And today EPS has won.
Yes, but looking at these pictures, you'd expect this sort of mayhem and confusion essentially to continue, given that one side had to face disappointment and it's had to be O Pannerselvam.
It's O Pannerselvam who is the defeated person because Sasikala is down and out. CTV Dinakaran is down and out. Therefore, the way is cleared for Edappadi Palanisawmy. He has played a very crucial role in this for the last 1 year, and that is the reason why EPS is always siding with Ms. Narendra Modi and BJP at the center. So it's a clash between two ideologies in ADMK. One is with BJP, another is with the DMK. So the ADMK split has to be understood in the right perspective. You have to have a clear thinking that it is based on two issues, madam. To enlighten your North Indian viewers, I would like to say there is a war of ideas, war of clash of ideas. One is with the Hindutva, another is with Dravidian movement. So therefore, it's a split wide open between counter and favor, between ADMK, Edappadi Palanisawmy and ADMK OPS. Things will develop. It will go to New Delhi. Definitely, Election Commission will have to decide. And EPS stands a good chance of withholding the two-leaf symbol. So the fight is for two-leaf symbol, election symbol only.
All right. I'm going to go across to my colleague Akshay once again, getting us the ground report. Naga also continues to be with us. First, over to Akshay. Akshay, what's the current situation right now? We're putting out these visuals for our viewers from moments ago when this crisis broke out, when the violent clashes broke out. What now? What do you see around you? Tell us more.
Sneha, I'll give you the images that are there around me. Right now, we can see how police officials have barricaded the entry towards the AIADMK headquarters. And the other side of the barricade are Edappadi K Palanisawmy supporters. They're raising slogans against O Pannerselvam and demanding that OPS and his supporters leave the AIADMK headquarters at once. And, repeatedly police officials are trying to have conversations with these protesters, and they're saying that, this is a law and order situation and things need to be brought under control. We can also see how during the violence that had broken out earlier today, chairs which were arranged at the AIADMK headquarters were broken by these protesters. Police officials with lathi and other supportive gears are present here, and in between they had to use mild force on the supporters to bring situation under control. All across the AIADMK headquarters, the road that leads to the AIADMK headquarters, you can see how there are multiple stones which are fallen down. All these stones were pelted at by both the faction members at one another. And as we move inside, this is on my right is where the AIADMK headquarters is, and once we enter here also we can see how there are people standing with wooden sticks and stones in their hands, and people who are OPS supporters have been repeatedly saying that they will attack any EPS supporter or EPS or anybody who is in his favor who are coming to this headquarters. So it is almost like, the members of OPS have taken siege to this AIADMK headquarters. And around, if my camera person can turn around and show you, you can see the after effects of the kind of violence which was witnessed today. There are broken glasses of buses, cars, and also pelted stones and slippers which have fallen across because of people running away from one place to another. So all this is the sight that we can see outside the AIADMK headquarters. Things are very, very tense. Yes, the Madras High Court has given a green signal for the General Council meeting to go ahead, but this will also mean that this is not the end of the fight between OPS and EPS. This power struggle will continue. We're being told that OPS will not lie low, will not take this setback, and he will be acting very soon. The way that he's entered into the headquarters and has occupied the seat here is only indicative that he is not going to rest without giving a tough fight. And as far as the EPS faction members are concerned, we are being told that EPS faction will be amending the bylaws of the party, which will ensure that the dual leadership that they are currently following since 2017 will be cancelled and a single leadership will be suggested, and at the same time an interim General Secretary will be elected. That will be Edappadi K Palanisawmy. Let us show you the effects of the fight that has happened. Pelted stone all across, broken glasses all across. This is the scene outside the AIADMK headquarters. These are the vehicles in which OPS's supporters had reached AIADMK headquarters, and all of this are damaged property that you're seeing here. A very, very violent act from a party with Jayalalithaa, who had control with an iron fist and had kept a military discipline party. But the discipline no longer exists, is clearly indicated here. All these broken glasses, pelted stones, people getting hurt, and all these are people who were behaving like brothers at a time when J Jayalalithaa was at the helm of affairs. But now things have changed. We're seeing that another faction war has broken out since 2017, and what will happen next is something that we have to wait and watch. But it is going to be a very, very tough few years or few days for the AIADMK, Sneha.
Yes, Akshay, for us who may not be extremely familiar with the politics in Tamil Nadu and may not understand how the AIADMK functions, give us an idea about what role is there left now for O Pannerselvam. Given that it's clear that as far as the leadership issue is concerned, it's evident that EPS prima facie has won the war.
So Sneha, Edappadi K Palanisawmy and O Pannerselvam were the coordinator and joint coordinator of the party. That is as per the dual leadership agenda that the party had brought about in 2017. They had even had an election and had also given the representation to the election commission, saying that these are the two newly elected leaders of the party. But unfortunately, what has happened is that after the 2021 polls and AIADMK losing the election, but with a good majority, party, what we have seen is that EPS has been able to garner a lot of support from his party members, and the MLAs in his party are also in favor of him in a majority. And after that, right now, the scenario is such that during the previous General Council meeting, a very important agenda which had to be amended was the leadership of the party, which was to say that the dual leadership will go ahead. But unfortunately, that was not amended. And after that, now we're seeing that the outcry for a single leadership continued with the EPS faction. And today, that decision will be taken, that bylaw will be amended. So as far as the party is concerned, right now, O Pannerselvam only holds the post of the treasurer, but he and his faction members have not gone for the General Council meeting, which means disciplinary action is likely to be taken against him. And that also means that he might even be removed from the party's membership role also. But all those are things which we will get clarity in the next few days. But right now, O Pannerselvam is at a disadvantage because the majority of General Council members as well as MLAs are in favor of Edappadi K Palanisawmy, which means a majority of the party is on EPS's side. So technically, with a small faction of members that OPS has, that cannot go ahead. But the only thing that they could manage to do was to lay siege to the AIADMK headquarters here. And they are also raising slogans against Edappadi K Palanisawmy at this time. What will happen next? We'll have to wait for the General Council to get over. The General Council, most likely the agenda has been to announce for an interim General Secretary, amend the rule where the dual leadership will once again be brought back to single leadership. And if actions will be taken against O Pannerselvam, those will also be decided. And also, a scheduled date for the election of the General Secretary will also be put forward, is what we are being told. Right now, giving you live images from outside the AIADMK headquarters, we are seeing that police officials have brought a vehicle in which they will be detaining the protesters who are here outside the AIADMK headquarters. This is a way in which they can control the scene here. The number of police officials who have gathered here are increasing by the minute. The police force deployed in this region is increasing by the minute. And it also needs to be seen what will happen in the next few hours. But things are not okay. That needs to be put out. Things are not okay at the AIADMK. And faction war is seen between brothers who had been, joining hands, standing together all these years. Now they're warring against each other, pelting stones at each other, hitting with sticks at each other. These are not rosy pictures, and this will continue till an amicable solution comes out in the party. But what is the amicable solution is what we have to wait and watch. But one thing is clear, OPS has lost this battle, at least in court. We'll have to see what his next move will be. Will he again be appealing in court? All those are big questions. But Edappadi K Palanisawmy, who's currently at the General Council meeting in Varnagaram, which is in the outskirts of Chennai, has an upper hand because of the support that he has received from the party cadres.
Getting our viewers up to speed with the very latest, the OPS camp undoubtedly has suffered a setback today. In fact, let's take a look at these pictures that put that out, that video for our viewers. To be with us on that dramatic story developing from Chennai, where the court has given a green signal essentially to Edappadi Palanisawmy. But what next for O Pannerselvam? His supporters have been out on the streets. In fact, Akshay, before you spoke to us, a senior journalist who also joined us did say that as far as the cadre is concerned, OPS seemed to have the numbers with him, with many of them in his support. In that sense, Edappadi Palanisawmy is going to have a tough time navigating through all of this.
certainly, Sneha. Like right now, let me just bring up to speed of what is happening here outside the headquarters. We're seeing that police officials are using force to push back the Edappadi K Palanisawmy members. Police officials had brought in a vehicle, and we've seen that these supporters of Edappadi K Palanisawmy were trying to breach in and trying to push their way through the barricades, but they have been pushed back by police officials by using a little bit of mild lathi charge, and they are now being forced into the vehicle that has been kept on standby here. This is a way in which they are trying to ensure law and order situation, and also to answer your question about what is the future of the party. Well, there is a lot of uncertainties for the AIADMK at this given point of time. Sneha, taken into consideration that a huge faction war is being witnessed in the party. Down south, we see that O Pannerselvam has a huge clout. This is once again, we can see it as, a community war also. While Edappadi K Palanisawmy comes from a community called the Gounders and huge control, a huge support in the northern belts of Tamil Nadu, O Pannerselvam, Sashikala, they represent a community called the Tevas, which are from down south. So right now we are seeing that the division between the two factions are also in a very, very similar manner. Wherein O Pannerselvam's supporters from Theni and the likely areas are said to have come into this area right now, and they are the ones who have, have now control over the AIADMK headquarters. But what's happened is that the AIADMK's supporter base itself is now divided into two different regions. Down south, O Pannerselvam's supporters are more, and up north of Tamil Nadu, Edappadi K Palanisawmy's. And as the days are to progress, we will understand the ground reality, and if AIADMK's actual grassroots level cadres are happy with the decision that has happened now. As far as the creamy layer of the party is concerned, those who hold high posts in the party, all of them are in favor of Edappadi K Palanisawmy, and that is indicated at the recent GC meeting that we are seeing going on. But are the grassroots level people also happy? That's a big question, because O Pannerselvam has been claiming that he is the legitimate heir of J Jayalalithaa. He is the one whom J Jayalalithaa had chosen as her substitute the 3 times that she was inactive, and those 3 times he led the party as the chief minister of the state. So taking all those things into consideration, O Pannerselvam has been continuously stating that he has an upper hand in the party. But meanwhile, we're seeing that the local leadership, the local leaders as well as MLAs and other senior members of the AIADMK have clearly moved on and are on favor of the former chief minister, which is Edappadi K Palanisawmy. But will this be reflected in the grassroots? That's something that we'll have to wait and watch. But these are also opportunities for other political parties like the BJP, who are trying to make inroads into the party, because, as cadres get unhappy, they will be looking at alternatives, and already we have seen many senior leaders moving camps. And will this be opportunities for new political parties to be formed? All those are big questions. But as far as EPS and OPS is concerned, well, both of them are at loggerheads, and have also said that it was unlikely that now they can join hands once again. So previously, O Pannerselvam had stated that it was Prime Minister Narendra Modi who had spoken to him and had convinced him to join hands with EPS and to take up the position as a Deputy Chief Minister. So will there be external factors which will play in again to bring peace within the AIADMK? Those are all big questions that we're awaiting answers for, Sneha.
Well, absolutely. In fact, we're getting in these visuals on the right side of your screens where all of these supporters of both these factions clash with each other, and the police has now detained some of them. The police trying to bring the situation under control. Pictures from a while ago where these protesters broke into the AIADMK office, and posters of Edappadi Palanisawmy were pulled down also by the supporters of O Pannerselvam. Right now it's a win for Edappadi Palanisawmy. I want to know from you, Akshay, that it does appear very, very possible that there is going to be a resolution in which they are going to be finally electing Palanisawmy as a single Supreme Party leader and for him to then formally and officially take over as the political heir of J Jayalalithaa. That is something that could happen as early as today. Akshay?
Sneha, what we're being told from the members in the GC meeting right now is that the GC meeting has kick-started. Edappadi K Palanisawmy had given the welcome note, and he had also welcomed Tamil Magan Hussain to take the lead role. He was appointed as the Presidium Chairman during the previous meeting also. So Tamil Magan Hussain is the one who has taken the lead, and Ponniyin, another senior leader, had requested that the General Council pass the 16 resolution that was posted for discussion, and immediately the Executive Council unanimously has passed the 16 resolutions, and the General Council meeting has come to an end, is what the message we are getting from the GC meeting. We have very senior members there present, and we're being told that 16 resolution points have been passed, and these points also included amendment of the current leadership from dual leadership to bring back single leadership. That resolution was there, and similarly the party bylaws being amended. All those details were present at were all part of
OP supporters have barged into the AIADMK headquarters in Chennai. There have been clashes, lathi charge. The police trying to bring the situation under control, even as the High Court has ensured a victory for Edappadi Palanisawmy with a setback for O Pannerselvam. What is expected is that the General Council might just now elect Palanisawmy as a single supreme leader of the AIADMK, then settling the war over the legacy of J Jayalalithaa. The OPS camp, of course, is opposing the meeting to pick Palanisawmy as the top leader, but that is something that the court has not allowed. What does it really mean for O Pannerselvam as his political future is concerned? That's a question that remains to be answered, but it clearly will not be a smooth sailing for EPS if we were just to go by the pictures that we are seeing from today from outside the AIADMK headquarters, where there is stone pelting that has happened, with supporters in fact pulling down the pictures and the posters of E. Palanisawmy that is there on your screen right now. There's anger as far as OPS supporters are concerned, wanting him to in fact take over. But that isn't to happen, at least for now, with him suffering a blow from the High Court, from the Madras High Court today. Can expect this mayhem to continue, given that there's been a setback and that the cadre is angry. What we also know is that a significant section of the cadre are supporting O Pannerselvam, which essentially means that these tensions will continue, and undoubtedly there will not be a smooth sailing for EPS. We'll go across to Akshay for more details on that story, but meanwhile we're reporting on the clashes that have broken out between O Pannerselvam and EPS supporters ahead of the AIADMK General Council meeting, which is yet to begin, or has it begun? Akshay, what more can you tell us?
Right now we can show you from the AIADMK headquarters premises, where police officials have taken control of the issue. They have taken many of these EPS supporters who were trying to breach in through the barricade and enter the AIADMK headquarters. They've removed those protesters. They've taken them in a police vehicle from here. And apart from that, you can see how there is an immense police presence also deployed to ensure that party cadres who are gathered on the other side of the road do not breach enter here. So, right now police officials are trying their best to ensure that people do not move in and create another chaos like what we had seen during the early hours of today morning. And at the General Council meeting, we are being told that Edappadi K Palanisawmy will be giving the welcome speech, and also that Tamil Magan Hussain, who was elected as the Presidium Chairman, has been nominated again. And apart from that, the 16 resolutions which the AIADMK party was to pass is being unanimously passed, is what we've been told. And of the 16 resolutions, it also included that Bharat Ratna be awarded to Anna as well as to J Jayalalithaa. And similarly, there was a demand that the dual leadership be altered and be made into a single leadership, and an interim General Secretary be selected, and a date for the election of the General Secretary to also be announced, where part of the agenda which has been part of the 16-point agenda which is to be passed by the General Council meeting today. And we're also being told that likely the party might also talk about the scenario that is panned out today morning between the EPS and OPS faction, and also on measures that need to be taken against O Pannerselvam. Earlier last week, while speaking to the media, D. Jayakumar, who's the AIADMK leader, had stated that, nobody is above the party and all of them will have to fall under the party bylaws, which was an indicator to say that O Pannerselvam's act of going to court was not something that is accepted by the party bylaws, and for which he will have to face repercussions. So we have to wait and watch as to what kind of actions will the party decide for O Pannerselvam, the senior leader of the party, who has held the post as treasurer and also the coordinator of the party. Right now, inside the AIADMK headquarters, O Pannerselvam, along with his supporters, are very clearly present, trying to at least visually give out an image saying that he is not going to budge. He is going to retain his post and position within the AIADMK. But the interesting questions that we have to look at, Sneha, are who will be the interim General Secretary? Well, we have an answer. Most likely it is going to be Edappadi K Palanisawmy. What will happen at the election for the General Secretary? Who all will contest? Well, EPS, most certainly yes. And the EPS faction had also in the Madras High Court stated that O Pannerselvam can also contest the election, and if he wins, well, he can take it. But that statement comes with a confidence that a majority of the voters, a majority of the cadres and the General Council members are on the side of Edappadi K Palanisawmy. Another important factor that we will have to look at is that the fate of O Pannerselvam, a man who was considered to be a very close aide of J Jayalalithaa, who has stepped in thrice for her as the Chief Minister of the state. What will happen to him? What will be his political career like? And while we discuss all this, another interesting factor whom we'll have to look at is also VK Sashikala, who still claims that she is the General Secretary of the party. She has been addressing all her statements as the General Secretary of AIADMK. In a verbal statement also, she had said that there will be a right time when she will take control of the party and she will bring together all the warring factions. So VK Sashikala, who's now touring across the state of Tamil Nadu, is another factor.
Be with us, Akshay. Nadar Venkatesh, political analyst, is also now joining us. Thank you for your time. What next for O Pannerselvam, given the setback from the Madras High Court? This certainly isn't going to be smooth sailing for EPS, even though the court has given him a green signal, essentially.
What we are witnessing, and I can understand the excitement from a national channel on the happenings of a regional party, because for the first time we are seeing something like this happening, where the leadership is no longer arrived at backroom consensus, but is played in full public glare, and it is fought out with the bitterness of all democratic parties. So we must congratulate the AIADMK. It is not a family party. It is not a dynastic party. And whatever is happening is in the healthiest tradition of democracy. So let us celebrate this moment of democracy. I am not an AIADMK supporter by any chance. But what I am saying is that this is something new in modern Indian history, political history. And this is something that we need to cherish and celebrate. Now, coming back to personalities, yes, at this point in time, EPS seems to have a complete edge. He seems to be in a very advantageous position. OPS is definitely in the back foot and is not able to marshal enough number of people. His body language, his approach to the court, his arguments before the judges are very clear. that he doesn't have enough strength, he's unable to muster enough strength. That means that EPS will definitely take over the party. Then comes the Sasikala equation. Sasikala was a force multiplier and always held that Sasikala is a force multiplier. She is not a force by herself. She requires a Jayalalithaa. She requires somebody on whom a trust can be placed, and she will be a force multiplier using backroom machinations, her vast understanding of the bureaucracy, judiciary, media, so on and so forth. But today she is a diminished force. 10 years has elapsed. She is no longer in power. DMK is in power. EPS and OPS, definitely what will unite them is the fear that Sasikala would come back. So definitely it is not going to be easy for Sasikala to also come back. So at this point in time, it looks like game, set and match for EPS. EPS will definitely take over the party. But what will happen at the polls, what will happen at the election, that's a different story. That is something that we'll have to wait and see.
You know, I also want to know that there is in fact a suggestion, and that is coming from several other journalists as well, who are saying that the cadre are supporting O Pannerselvam largely for many years, seen as somebody who had the blessings of J Jayalalithaa as always, and he is truly the political heir. What does this really mean for EPS if the cadre and by and large these workers of the party are with OPS?
In Tamil Nadu, there is very little of journalists, and all of them are usually party men disguised as journalists. So I wouldn't give that credence to it. And it is being said in full public glare. See, this voting is going to happen in full public glare when the nominated, whatever is the council or executive committee, whatever is that of the AIADMK, is going to vote. Now, how are you going to come back and say this is the cadre wants OPS, but this is the APS being his trust? Can you say the same thing about, say, the DMK or the JDS? No, you can't say this. This is happening in full public glare. This is happening in with votes being counted, with observers being there and courts interfering. Where else you have this type of democracy? Come on, these journalists are people who are opining what they want. Probably they want the ADMK to be weakened.
Okay, that's a separate issue. Mr. Venkatesh, I also want to ask you, does it look extremely probable now that sooner rather than later, EPS is going to be crowned? In that sense that there is going to be a resolution that he is the supreme leader of the party. How soon might that happen?
By this afternoon.
Oh, by this afternoon.
Why should?
Okay.
Yeah, why not? Why not by this afternoon if the resolutions are passed and the ADMK decides on a unified singular leader, EPS can be crowned. And remember, he did steer the state for around 3 years in the absence of post the death of Jayalalithaa. So definitely there is a huge powerful force and lobby that is working for him. And there is a huge powerful force that is working against him. And that is why I said that the journalist's views cannot be taken as very seriously.
Okay, Suman Raman is also now joining us. Suman Raman, it does appear that by today afternoon itself, Edappadi K Palanisawmy is going to be crowned the king. He is going to be given the reins of the AIADMK and declared the supreme leader of the party.
Yes, I think that this is something which perhaps should have happened on 23rd of June itself. But, due to a court order and so on, it didn't happen. Today, I think the decks have all been cleared. Mr. EPS will be the interim general secretary of the party because the general secretary, as per the party's bylaws, should be elected by the ordinary members of the party, all the ordinary members. So that would take some time for the elections to happen. But Mr. EPS will be the interim general secretary of the party. And as far as Mr. OPS is concerned, I think this is the end of the road. He could, of course, contest all of this in court. But we'll have to wait and see what decision is taken on his future at the party, whether they choose to expel him, which is what is quite likely. If they leave him continue as the treasurer of the party, it creates a perennial problem for EPS. But Mr. OPS's political options have now completely dwindled, and Mr. EPS will now be the supreme leader of the AIADMK going forward.
Yes, but one really can't expect him to be walking off into the sunset. Will O Pannerselvam really do that? You did say that his political options really have narrowed down, but he isn't someone who's going to be lying low, isn't it? Given the kind of scenario or the pictures that we've seen today, it isn't going to be a pleasant walk down the road for Edappadi K Palanisawmy.
No, I don't think within the party there is going to be any great support for Mr. OPS, and we have seen that. I mean, if out of 2,300, if 2,200 people plus are supporting EPS and 100 people are supporting OPS, it gives you an idea of the kind of support that he commands within the party in the GC. And there are hardly outside his Teni district, Mr. OPS hardly has any support. So his options are very severely limited. He was hoping at one stage that the BJP might help him by, propping him up. The BJP is not doing that clearly. And therefore, what are his options now? He can join Ms. Shashikala, but she too does not have public support in any significant measure. So there are no options. I mean, that is the singular problem. Had he accepted to serve under EPS, potentially he could have bided his time. There would have been people who would have become unhappy with EPS over a period of time. And he could have emerged as a leader, of consequence, maybe 2 years down the line. But by taking this confrontationist approach without support either within the party or from the BJP, I think he has shot his bolt. I honestly don't see him, assuming any significant relevance in the near term, unless the BJP has a change of heart, which I don't see happening before 2024.
Interesting. Sumansi Raman, Jayalalithaa had handpicked rather OPS twice. What does this really mean for the workers and the cadre of the AIADMK? Do they remember this, that OPS was seen somebody largely as the chosen political heir of J Jayalalithaa?
I think that people and the cadre also recognize that he was chosen more for the fact that he would not rock the boat, rather than for any great administrative or political acumen. He was chosen because she knew that he would give back the Chief Minister's chair, when she was ready to occupy it again, and that he did not command a mass base. In fact, he was given the post because he did not have most of the qualifications that were needed to be a Chief Minister, which is a large charismatic personality or great, administrative acumen and so on. So I think that that alone does not qualify Mr. OPS to claim the support of the cadre in the party. And we've seen over the last few months how he has been horrendously exposed as not being able to command even half a dozen or more district secretaries out of the 75 party district secretaries. So I think that, the right approach for him would have been to accept defeat and live to fight another day. He has not chosen to do that. And over a period of time, of course, the DMK would be keen that Mr. OPS remains relevant because they want to weaken the AIADMK. But, more the DMK, if he seems to be close to the DMK, that harms him more because no AIADMK supporter or cadre would ever accept a leader who is seen to be soft on the DMK. So his options are very, very limited. And let me be very honest, I honestly cannot, barring a sudden last-minute change of heart by the BJP, I can't see Mr. OPS being relevant in Tamil Nadu politics if the AIADMK does choose to expel him.
Yes, you mentioned the BJP. The very fact that EPS continues to be close to the BJP might just work in his favor as well in days and weeks to come, isn't it?
But see, the thing is, the BJP until 2024 wants a united AIADMK, which can command at least 25% of vote share, because the BJP wants to align, is already in an alliance with the AIADMK, and they want to be able to take 8 to 10 seats from Tamil Nadu in 2024 for the parliamentary election. So they don't want the AIADMK to implode now. So there is no way that they are going to back OPS at this stage. If they were to back him, they would have backed him 2 weeks ago. He went to Delhi and he tried desperately to meet many senior leaders of the BJP. He was rebuffed. So that itself sent out a strong signal that the BJP at this stage is not willing to back Mr. OPS. And that is why, none of the leaders who are with EPS even attempted to cross over, because they saw the writing on the wall. They saw that he was cut adrift by the BJP, and they would not come to salvage or save him, certainly not before the 2024 elections. What happens after 2024 is very difficult to predict. But right now, the BJP is certainly not wanting an imploding AIADMK because they don't have the critical mass to take on the DMK in an electoral fight at this point.
Right, Sumansi Raman, I'm thanking you for the moment for getting us your perspective on that important story that we are tracking from Tamil Nadu, where a war has broken out between the two factions. One of O Pannerselvam, the second one of Edappadi K Palanisawmy, the Chief Minister and the former Chief Minister of Tamil Nadu, with the Madras High Court now given a green signal to Edappadi K Palanisawmy to take over the reins of the AIADMK. The procedure is something that Akshay will break down for us. How will this work from here on? What is going to be the process? We've also heard from political analysts who are saying that as early as today afternoon, Akshay, EPS is going to be declared as the leader, the supreme leader of the AIADMK.
What is happening currently at the AIADMK's General Council meeting in the outskirts of Chennai city in Varanagaram is that a 16-point resolution is being passed, and that has already been passed unanimously is what we are being told by our AIADMK sources who are currently at the General Council meeting. And they've also appointed Edappadi K Palanisawmy as the interim General Secretary of the party. This is a role which they had cancelled earlier in 2017 when they had made way for a dual leadership at the time when EPS and OPS had joined hands. But now once again they have reverted to their initial phase of having a single leadership, and that will be the General Secretary of the party. For that also a resolution has been passed, and now we're being told that since Edappadi K Palanisawmy has been selected unanimously as the interim General Secretary, an election is likely to happen for the post within a period of next 4 months. And this means that those who are interested in the party to be the General Secretary can contest, and that one option will be Edappadi K Palanisawmy, and the EPS faction had also given an invitation to OPS in Madras High Court stating that if he is interested, he too can participate and contest in that upcoming elections, which will be announced in a period of next 4 months. The election is to be conducted is what we're being told. So two things are very clear right now. One is that unanimously Edappadi K Palanisawmy has been selected as the interim General Secretary of the party, and within a period of next 4 months, an election for the post will be conducted. And now the dual leadership which the party had has now been cancelled, which means O Pannerselvam's position as the coordinator of the party no longer stands, is one understanding that we can clearly get from the General Council meeting that has happened. And additionally, Sneha, the other things that have happened during the General Council meeting is that they have elected a presidium chairman also, who is Tamil Magan Hussain, who was earlier selected as well during the 23rd June event. And now all eyes will be at the AIADMK headquarters, taken into consideration that O Pannerselvam has decided to come and take a seat here, and that too we have to clearly mention was a forceful entry by the OPS faction members. So how will this be taken into consideration by the general AIADMK party members is something that we have to wait and watch. And the pictures that we're showing you right now are pictures of EPS supporters sitting on a dharna outside the AIADMK headquarters. These people have also been raising slogans against O Pannerselvam and are demanding that they have the rightful and they are the ones who have the rightful place in the AIADMK headquarters, because majority of people are in favor of EPS and not of OPS. So, right now there are multiple questions which will be out. One is, what is the future of O Pannerselvam? Will he be in the party, or will he be expelled from the party by the party's senior leadership, taking into consideration the kind of activity which has brought shame to the party in itself? Because AIADMK was a party known for its military discipline, a party which was controlled by the iron fist of J Jayalalithaa, and all of that has gone up in air by the kind of chaos and kind of violence that was displayed today morning outside the party's headquarters. And we've seen here people pelting stones at one another, banners being torn, and even now the situation is in control only and only because of the police presence here and police officials ensuring that no more violence take place. But after the General Council meeting, what will be the future of the AIADMK like? Because right now O Pannerselvam has maintained silence. He has not come out and has not spoken since the High Court verdict. So, the side of O Pannerselvam remains very silent, not giving out or not divulging what their next action plans are. So it's a very, very tricky scenario, but clearly the mandate of the majority AIADMK stands with Edappadi K Palanisawmy, who has now been selected as the interim General Secretary of the party, Sneha.
Akshay, if I understood you correctly, you did say that there is a possibility of disciplinary action against O Pannerselvam, the General Council and the members of the party. The members of the council are in a position to then take a call on this?
Well, yes, most certainly, because the highest authority of the party are the General Council members, is what the EPS's faction had addressed the Madras High Court about. So that is why they had even pleaded in the court, stating that 2,190 people have called for a special General Council, and these GC members are the most important party members who can take the most important decisions in the party, and thereby, as per the party's bylaws, if any leader, any member of the party goes against the party, then disciplinary action can be taken against him or her, is what the party bylaw says. And this was also evidently spoken out by D. Jayakumar, who is a former AIADMK minister and a close associate of Edappadi K Palanisawmy. In an interview a few days back, he had stated that no leader is above the party. So if he or she has acted against the interest of the party, then action will be taken against them, hinting that action can be taken against O Pannerselvam for going to court. And also today, after seeing the kind of violent display, this too can be brought in by these GC members as well as the senior leaders of the party as unruly, undisciplined behavior which needs action for. So we'll have to wait and watch as to what Edappadi K Palanisawmy and his supporters are to do. But as the interim General Secretary of the party, a lot of power is now vested on EPS, and we'll have to wait and watch how EPS is going to act on all those.
Yes, and as far as the options for OPS is concerned, the legal route, Akshay, is also open for him. He can challenge the order of the Madras High Court in a higher court. That is an option that he may just be looking at. Akshay?
Well, what we are seeing at this given point of time is that the amount of support that O Pannerselvam is enjoying is very limited. As most of the political analysts have also indicated, O Pannerselvam has only a small clout of supporters, most of them in the down south of Tamil Nadu supporting him, while EPS has a majority from the senior leadership to a huge majority of people in the northern part of Tamil Nadu. So at this given point of time, after this General Council meeting, the only option that we can right now see is for OPS to either approach court stating that he was not part of this entire meeting and he wants it cancelled, just like the one that he wanted during the 23rd June. But will that stand valid in court is a big question. And also another interesting factor that OPS can also think about is to actually contest for the General Secretary's position as suggested by the EPS faction, which might turn non-fruitful for OPS, but that is one option for him. But other than that, the options that are there for OPS is very limited because a majority of people within the AIADMK seem to be in favor of Edappadi K Palanisawmy, who's today been elected as the interim General Secretary of the party. So, things are very, very tough for OPS. Options are very limited. Last time, the matchbreaker for OPS and EPS was Prime Minister Narendra Modi. So this time around, will, Prime Minister or anybody from the BJP play a role in ensuring that they join hands once again? All those are big questions. But one factor which we need to remember is that the BJP, which is trying to make inroads into the state, has a very good ally which has a very good alliance with the AIADMK in the state, and they have been saying that in the upcoming Lok Sabha polls and in the future state assembly polls, both these elections are crucial for the BJP, and they wanted a united front as far as the AIADMK is concerned. But these kind of turmoil and the political power struggle within the top leadership of the party will bring a huge setback to the plans of the BJP as well. So will that be taken lightly by the party which is in centre is something that we'll have to wait and watch. And also, last time also O Pannerselvam had stated that only because of Prime Minister Narendra Modi's insistence did he join hands with Edappadi K Palanisawmy and move back into the AIADMK's EPS, OPS joining happen. So will those kind of activities also come to the forefront? Those things are something that we'll have to wait and watch. But options for OPS is very limited, and it seems like right now the victory is for Edappadi K Palanisawmy, who clearly has a majority of the party members on his side.
Be with us. We are getting these visuals from moments ago where there were protests that broke out. Also, Akshay, there are supporters around you. If you could get in a word from them on what they think of the Madras High Court order, how they view this development, whether they accept it, what's the sense really on the ground?
Why are you not picking the call? This is Ronald now.
Akshay, if you could get in a word from the protesters then. Okay, I'm going to go back to Akshay in a moment from now. Nagarjuna also continues to be with us. There are options open for O Pannerselvam as far as the legal route is concerned. Naga, are you picking up anything on whether this order of the Madras High Court is something that OPS is going to be challenging further?
Most likely he'll take it up in the higher court or the apex court in the next few weeks. But what we are picking up from our sources is that it's all over for Pannerselvam as of now. Behind me is the General Secretary, the Interim General Secretary who is seated behind me in the venue that is happening right now. The General Council meeting is happening. They have passed many resolutions citing the bylaws of the party. The bylaws of the party says there cannot be vacancy for the General Secretary post. Hence, that's the reason why Interim General Secretary has been appointed. And starting from today, within 4 months, the election has to be held to elect a permanent General Secretary. So remember that, and also a new resolution that has been passed is dual leadership that AIADMK followed for the last few years has been scrapped. There is no more joint coordinator that existed will exist henceforth. It exists to cease. So there is no more scope for OPS, at least till the elections is held, to muster his muscle or to flex his muscles. At this point of time, behind me is only EPS's poster, as you see in the General Council venue. There is no sign of any OPS poster. I would ask my camera person to walk further and show you the decoration done here and the opulence shown here. It's only Jayalalithaa and EPS all over the meeting venue, and it's a clear-cut message and a sign that game is over for OPS, and he has to, if he has any more option, it is only by knocking the doors of the Supreme Court. But it is unlikely that Supreme Court will stay the order, because what we are hearing is that High Court said OPS is free to contest the elections. There's no one stopping him. If majority of the members in the AIADMK party want EPS as the General Secretary, how can court intervene? It is against their purview. It is up to the members to decide in the election democratically who should lead their party. It is up to the party. Within the party forum, people have to decide. So no one's stopping OPS to contest. But will he contest is the big question, because he hardly has 1 or 2 MLAs and 1 MP, which is his son, in his support. Apart from that, there are hardly anyone except for a few party cadres who created ruckus, who barged into the AIADMK headquarters today. They were stone pelting. People were left bloodied today. And EPS, as of now, is on stage behind me, accepting all the resolutions, sitting there, and with a smile, one can say, because he has won this battle, the final battle that it was a showdown that EPS has won. At least for the next 4 months, he has a breathing space before the election is held.
Well, absolutely. I'm going to go across once again to Akshay Nath also for more on that. Akshay continues to be at the AIADMK headquarters. Akshay, I was asking you if you could get in a word from any of the supporters there on what they have to say about the Madras High Court order.
Well, certainly, Sneha, we can speak to these supporters. Most of the supporters who are here are members who are supporting Edappadi K Palanisawmy, and we can see that all of these people are waiting to enter inside the headquarters, whom they are saying is something that is their right to be an OPS and a supporter should not. You have come here outside the AIADMK headquarters. What do you want to do? What are your demands?
ஒற்றை தலைமையாக நாங்கள் இபிஎஸ் அவர்களை ஏற்றுக்கிறதுக்காக காத்துட்ருக்கோம். தீர்மானம் கொண்டு வந்ததுக்கப்புறம் அவர் தான் வருவார் தலைமைக்கு.
இப்போ காலையிலேருந்து இங்கே சண்டை நடந்துட்டு இருக்கு இபிஎஸ் ஓபிஎஸ் தரப்புல. இந்த மாதிரி ஒரு சூழ்நிலை அதிமுகவுக்கு வர்றதை பற்றி உங்களோட கருத்து என்ன?
ஓபிஎஸ் ஆதரவாளர்கள் தான் இந்த மாதிரி பண்ணுறாங்க, அராஜகம் பண்ணுறாங்க. முழுக்க அவங்க செய்கிறது எல்லாமே கட்சியோட அவப்பேரை கெடுக்கிறதுக்காக பண்ணுறாங்க.
Just to quickly translate what this gentleman was saying, he was saying that they want a single leadership in the AIADMK, and the kind of scenario that is panned out here where we had seen people protesting and the kind of stone pelting, all those things happened. All those are because of the OPS faction is what we are being told. காலையில நீங்க இருந்தீங்களா இந்த மாதிரி சூழ்நிலை நடந்த போது? என்ன பண்ணாங்க?
அவங்க தான் கல்லு கருங்கல் உருட்டுக்கட்டை பைப்பு இதெல்லாம் எடுத்துட்டு நின்னவங்கள ஃபர்ஸ்ட் ஸ்டார்ட் பண்ணி அடிக்க ஆரம்பிச்சது அவங்க தான். அவங்க என்ன பண்ணுறாங்க, குப்பை தொட்டியை தள்ளிக்கிட்டே பொம்பளைகளை முதல்ல அனுப்புறானுங்க, அப்பதான் அடிக்க மாட்டேன்னு. உருட்டுக்கட்டை வயசானவங்கலாம் தலையில அடிக்கிறானுங்க பைப் எடுத்து.
So this gentleman was just describing as to what kind of violence panned out in the morning. He said that stone pelting happened. Similarly, people with wooden sticks had started hitting each other, and also that they had brought in pipes and that was being used to hit people from the other faction, and that's how the violence had started, is what this gentleman just said. And he is blaming the OPS faction for the kind of violence which panned out here. Right now, Sneha, just to show you the images here also, the police officials have barricaded 2 entryways into the AIADMK headquarters, and if my camera person can pan and show you on the left side, you can see at a distance how there is a huge crowd of AIADMK supporters who are just waiting to make their way in. Police officials are once again second barricaded there, and there is a police force standing there also guard to ensure that those people at that end don't breach in and come here. It is a very, very tough day for the people here, and as far as the AIADMK is concerned, 2 things are very clear. One is that the resolution for having a single leadership is being taken up, and AIADMK's Edappadi K Palanisawmy has been appointed as the interim general secretary, which is a huge victory for the EPS faction. This was a decision that they had wanted to be made on June 23rd, but unfortunately, due to the court order that OPS was successful to bring in the wee hours on June 23, it was seen that Edappadi K Palanisawmy could not be elected as an interim general secretary back then, but today they have successfully got hold of the post as single leader, which they had been demanding for quite some time now. And secondly, the big question is the fate of O Pannerselvam. Will there be party action against him? What will be his position in the party? Because other than the coordinator of the party, he was also holding the post as the treasurer of the party. So will he continue to be the treasurer of the party, or will he be removed from that position also, is something that we'll have to wait and watch. But one thing is that within the AIADMK itself, we have very clearly understood that there is a huge faction war that has now become OPS versus EPS, and with the kind of violence that was displayed outside the AIADMK headquarters, it is very evident that once again reconciliating between these 2 factions and to bring in a brotherly feeling which they initially carried as a party member, will those be brought back? All those are big questions, but right now at the AIADMK headquarters we can see how OPS faction members have taken control of the important building, which is the AIADMK headquarters. O Pannerselvam is also inside the headquarters, and since the General Council meeting beginning and since the verdict of the Madras High Court, we have seen that the entire OPS supporters as well as OPS has remained silent. So what will be their next action plan? All those remains a mystery.
I'm just wondering, why are polls going to be held in the next 4 months or so? Why not almost instantly, given this turbulence and turmoil within the party, Akshay?
Well, Sneha, it is a very, very difficult decision to be done because, you know, these elections within the party are also elections which need to be properly notified to the Election Commission, and a proper date has to be given for the same. And also the party will wait to see if there are any other candidates who are interested to contest apart from Edappadi K Palanisawmy. So, you know, those factors will take a couple of days or more to understand and also to be streamlined. And also party members, those who are eligible to vote, will have to be, assembled, and on that particular day they will have to be called for to vote. So all those are a huge task that the party will have to organize and take into account. So that's one of the reasons why they have said that the elections will happen within a period of 4 months, because there will be a lot of planning which is involved, and these are also democratic election procedures which are being followed within the AIADMK. Earlier, when the election to the dual leadership had happened, similarly they had given out a proper notification on day of nomination, day of filing the nominations, and also day of voting and counting. So those procedures, like how a normal election happened, will happen during this time also. So that is one of the reasons why they've given a period of 4 months, but that doesn't mean that will any time from now they might be taking into account what can be done, and earliest dates will be announced, is what we are being told by the AIADMK leadership also. So at this given point of time, one thing is clear, at least being the interim general secretary of the party, Edappadi K Palanisawmy is vested with a lot of power, and will he be using this power against O Pannerselvam? Those will be the questions that we'll have to be looking out for. And similarly, we have very clearly understood that VK Sashikala does not have a place in the party, is what earlier also the EPS faction has been talking about. So will OPS even consider going and shaking hands with her, who falls also from the same community as he is, and also has the same kind of crowd who are supporting him? So, these are things that we'll have to now look at in the near future. Will the faction war become bigger and bigger by every passing day? Those will be the questions that will be staring at the face of the AIADMK party, Sneha.
Be with us, Akshay. I'm coming back to you in a few moments. Nagarjun continues to be with us. Do we have a confirmation yet, Naga, on the fact that the posts of the coordinator and the joint coordinator has been scrapped by the General Council?
Sneha, at this point of time, the resolution has been kept in front of the members that scrapping of both coordinator and joint coordinator will be not existing henceforth, and that is the resolution that will be passed. So that means all over for OPS. OPS was the coordinator of the party, EPS was the joint coordinator, but now what they have stated is that as per the bylaw itself, that they're saying if there's a vacancy for general secretary post, they can't be, there's no vacancy, can't be existing. So interim general secretary has to be chosen, and that's why EPS was elected as interim general secretary. And starting from today, within 4 months, the election has to be held for a permanent general secretary post, and most likely that OPS might not contest, because remember, he doesn't garner any support. Last time also, when there was a meeting, when July 11th was decided as the date of General Council meeting, back then also OPS could not garner strength. He had to move the court, saying stall the General Council meeting. But right now, behind me, you can see the police are getting ready to make sure that no other hiccups happen here at the General Council meeting venue. That's the entrance. Media are not allowed to enter the hall, unlike last time. EPS is expected to come out in another half to 45 minutes and likely to go to the AIADMK and also seek blessings from Amma. So he might also visit, is what we are told. But this all debates as we speak. Every minute there is a development. It's being very, very dynamic as well. So we'll have to wait and watch what exactly happens. As of now, resolutions are being passed here in the General Council meeting. There are 16 such resolutions, including Bharat Ratna, demanding Bharat Ratna for Jayalalithaa, Anna Durai and others as well. So we'll have to see what will be EPS's next move. What is another big factor in this Tamil Nadu AIADMK politics is it is about Shashikala. She also claims that she has to be She is the General Secretary of the party. So what will be her next move will be the big question. How will OPS and EPS handle her? BJP has already said that if at all Shashikala wants to join the party, they welcome her as well. So a lot of permutation combination expected in the next 6 months in AIADMK in Chennai.
Naga getting us all of those details because lots of questions are there. Will O Pannerselvam eventually move a higher court and challenge this order? We don't know yet. What we know is that the General Council has announced Edappadi K Palanisawmy as the interim General Secretary. That was expected, and the elections to the post will take place in 4 months from now. The dual leadership, the system has been abolished by the General Council. The General Council has done what was expected. So it's a big win for Edappadi K Palanisawmy as the Madras High Court some time ago gave a go-ahead for the crucial meeting of the General Council. Akshay Nath also continues to be with us. Akshay, these pictures that we've put out for our viewers are of a gathering of the General Council. Essentially, break this down for us as to what the GC essentially has decided from the moment the court gave it a green signal.
Sneha, soon after the Madras High Court gave a green signal for the General Council to go ahead, we had seen that Edappadi K Palanisawmy, after 9:15 a.m. as per schedule, had started welcoming the General Council meeting, and then he had upheld the post of Tamil Mani Hussain, who is being elected as the Presidium Chairman of the party. And after that, it was seen that Punnayan, a senior leader of the party, had said that 16 resolutions are being placed in front of the General Council and it has to be unanimously passed. And then we saw D. Jayakumar, a former minister of the party, also saying that he is ready for the GC meeting and the GC's resolutions to be passed unanimously. And this was chorused by the general GC members, is what we are given to understand. After that, it was seen that Edappadi K Palanisawmy was selected as the single leader of the party. This again was spoken by D. Jayakumar. He was the one who said EPS to be the single leader of the AIADMK, and this again was chorused by the majority in the party who are present at the General Council meeting, is what we were told. And apart from that, Sneha, just giving you a quick glimpse from the GC meeting, we are being told that till Resolution 7 has been passed right now, and Resolution 5 was appointing Edappadi K Palanisawmy as the interim General Secretary of the party, and that was welcomed by a thunderous applause, is what we are given to understand from our sources within the AIADMK's GC meeting members. And also, to give you, just reading out to you, they've also passed resolution about giving Bharat Ratna for EVR, Periyar, Anna and Amma. They've also, under Resolution 3, they've terminated the post of coordinator and joint coordinator, which is the dual leadership agenda, has been cancelled, is what we are being told. Resolution 4 of having an interim General Secretary has also been created, and Resolution 5, that is what I was earlier telling you, appointing Edappadi K Palanisawmy as the interim General Secretary, has been welcomed with thunderous applause from the GC members, is what we have got messages from. And Resolution 6 was the post of the General Secretary, which is to be conducted within a period of 4 months. The election will be conducted within a period of 4 months, is what we are given to understand. And also right now, Resolution 7 is underway, which is requesting interim General Secretary Edappadi to lead the day's affair for the party. And also, these are the 7 resolutions which have currently been passed in the AIADMK General Secretary's meeting. We still have another 9 resolutions which has to be passed. So by 1 p.m. today, we are being told that all the resolutions will be passed, and after that, there is high likelihood that EPS, along with the senior members of the AIADMK, will come to Amma Memorial and then pay their tributes to Amma. So that is what we are being told. Meanwhile, at the AIADMK headquarters, we are seeing stock silence. Police presence is increasing by the minute, and barricading by police officials can also be witnessed. And the other side, in the AIADMK headquarters, O Pannerselvam has placed himself inside the party headquarters. supporters, and his supporters are inside the premises and they've locked the premises. But apart from that, there has been no word from O Pannerselvam's side so far, Sneha.
What about his supporters who ran completely amok just some time ago? Where are these supporters of O Pannerselvam, Akshay? Because he did speak with the supporters of Edappadi K Palanisawmy a while ago. Where are the supporters OPS?
Well, Sneha, majority of the area around the AIADMK headquarters have been occupied by Edappadi supporters, and you can see supporters still coming in from the possible entryways that are there. And all those people that my camera person is currently showing you in the frame are of those of Edappadi K Palanisawmy. O Pannerselvam supporters are completely inside the party headquarters, which is now being locked by the supporters. These supporters of EPS are also trying to breach their way in. We are trying to go near the place where OPS and OPS supporters are. You can see how police officials have, made themselves available here. All the shops which are there near the AIADMK headquarters have been shut because of the kind of violence which was witnessed from today morning. We had seen how stones were being pelted at, and also at the shops which had banners and posters of AIADMK leaders, which is a general site that you can see outside the headquarters. Those shops were also attacked at, and right now you can see how we're slowly entering inside the headquarters, and here we can see how the supporters of OPS have got inside the party headquarters and are shouting slogans in support of O Pannerselvam. This is the site that we've been seeing from today morning. They're holding images of MGR, O Pannerselvam and Jayalalithaa, trying to indicate that he is the leader of the party, and they are not accepting the recent General Council meeting or the decisions which are being made there. That is very clear. And also to just show you once again the images outside where the banners of EPS and senior other leaders were torn apart by the supporters of OPS today morning, and this is the site where they were burning the effigy of EPS and also banners of EPS. We can still see OPS supporters standing here with wooden sticks in their hands. They are ready for a fight, is very clear by their body languages also. And even what we can see here is that people are very, very, the adrenaline rush within these cadres who are standing here is very evident, and these are the OPS supporters a little way away from EPS supporters who are waiting to breach into the AIADMK headquarters. Sneha.
Visuals coming in from outside the headquarters from some time ago where there were protesters. These were factions, supporters of OPS. On the other hand, Edappadi K Palanisawmy, but these protests also have died down. As far as the scenario outside the AIADMK headquarters is concerned, but the General Council meeting is underway as we speak, and some key decisions have been taken already. So the dual leadership issue has been resolved. That system has been done away with. The post of the coordinator and the joint coordinator has been done away with. Edappadi K Palanisawmy has been appointed as the General Secretary of the party and the interim General Secretary. The elections for the same will take place in 4 months from now. These are some of the key decisions that have been taken already by the General Council, is what Akshay and Naga have been in fact telling us. Crucial developments, which means that there is a split in opinion as far as the AIADMK is concerned, given that it does appear for the moment that it's enrolled for O Pannerselvam. The legal options, Akshay, however, continue to be open before OPS. That's something that he certainly may just explore, isn't it? Challenging the order of the Madras High Court today.
Why are you not picking the call? This is Ronald, no?
On 11
Edappadi Palanisawmy.
Go ahead. But they had also said that the party's bylaws need to be...
Go ahead, Akshay.
Hello? Sneha, if you can hear me.
Go ahead.
The Supreme Court itself had stated that they cannot interfere into a party's internal affair, and the party's bylaws are what matters. And today, what we have seen during the General Council meeting is at least give the Madras High Court and the Supreme Court giving them a go-ahead signal is indicative that EPS faction have at least done what is being done as per the bylaws, which include giving a notification in prior for the General Council meeting to happen. And also today what we're seeing is a majority, more than 2,190 General Council members supporting Edappadi K Palanisawmy as the interim General Secretary, and also more than 2,190 GC members have also supported in the fact that they do not want dual leadership but a single leadership. So all these resolutions were passed as per the bylaws of the party. So it needs to really be seen what legal options does OPS really have. The point that he was contesting so far was that the General Council meeting was called for without his permission. But unfortunately, does Edappadi K Palanisawmy's statement that 15 days of prior notice and invite for OPS was given by a majority of General Council members, if was held satisfactory by the head Madras High Court. Now the decisions that are taken by the General Council members will also stand in court. So the legal options for O Pannerselvam is very limited, and he will have to look at alternative methods. One might be finding a reconciliation and a middle ground with the senior leaders of the AIADMK, and he might have to bow down to the demands that EPS and his faction members are keeping forward. But this is generally what we can see as a walk of shame for O Pannerselvam, because the kind of forced breaching into the AIADMK headquarters by his supporters that we saw today morning, and the kind of violence that we had seen being displayed, and even now we're seeing many of his supporters standing here with stones and sticks in their hand, which are indicative that they are ready for a fight. So all these are not a great symbol or any kind of an image that would be good for a good leaders. And Edappadi K Palanisawmy and his supporters can definitely hold OPS accountable for what has happened here, for the disgrace that the party is today witnessing at this given point of time. So what kind of actions will be taken against OPS is something that we'll have to wait and watch from the party's end. But as far as the legal options for OPS is concerned, it's very limited, and it will be a very unfortunate sight if we are going to see him again approaching the court, and if he is going to get a setback once again there. Sneha.
Dramatic developments from earlier today, where the Madras High Court has given a green signal to the General Council. Effectively, this means a win for Edappadi Palanisawmy, the former Chief Minister of Tamil Nadu. He is, in fact, now been appointed the interim General Secretary of the AIADMK. Does this really mean enrolled for O Pannerselvam, who was the Deputy Chief Minister but was heading the affairs of the party, with E. Palanisawmy essentially as his deputy in the party? So number one in government, but number two within the party. But right now, that dual control system is something that the General Council of the AIADMK has done away with. And that's the reason why these clashes took place in the morning. Supporters of O Pannerselvam clash with the supporters of Edappadi Palanisawmy, beating up each other, as you can see in these pictures that have come in from earlier today. I'd like to go back once again to my colleague Akshay for a situation ground report on whether these protests have been brought under control in different parts of Chennai city or not. What does it really look like? What are you picking up, Akshay?
Well, Sneha, what we're seeing at the AIADMK headquarters and the premises around is that situation is very tense. The AIADMK OPS faction members who have breached into the headquarters are standing here ready to give a tough fight for anybody who's trying to come in. And we know very clearly that O Pannerselvam, who was invited for the General Council meeting, did not attend the meeting. By boycotting that, he and his supporters came to the headquarters and have been settled here. This is in a way in which O Pannerselvam and his supporters are trying to say that they have the control of the party and the biggest office, which is the headquarters. And right now we can see how the entire premises is messed up. We can see how posters and images of EPS has been broken. If I can show you, this is an image of Edappadi K Palanisawmy, which has been broken and torn. This was an image which was kept inside the AIADMK party headquarters, but that has been brought out and torn. Similarly, here are banners of Edappadi K Palanisawmy and O Pannerselvam. Here, images of Palaniswamy alone have been torn away. Similarly, there were a lot of banners which were set on fire by these protesters. And if you can see around, people continue to raise slogans in favor of OPS. And also on standby, we can see how they have kept wooden sticks which they can use to beat up anybody who is coming in. We can also see here how a man is standing there right in the entrance near the grill with a wooden stick again. So these people have been threatening anybody from the other faction who are trying to make their way in. And as we move out of the AIADMK party headquarters, we can see how police officials have brought in a huge force and are trying to control the crowd as well. EPS faction members from different sides of Roypeta, which is the area where the AIADMK headquarters is set, are trying to breach their way in. So police officials have put up multiple layers of barricading in different parts of this road to ensure that there is no more crowd coming in or no more clashes between the two factions. So on ground, what we are seeing is the police officials have been successful in bringing down the law and in controlling the unruly behavior and bringing back the law and order situation. But things are very much tense. We don't know when this fragile attitude and the mob-like mentality of these warring faction members will once again be in display. But at this given point of time, the after effects of the clashes that was there between the two factions are visible, evidently by the broken chairs, by the pelted stones and broken glasses, and people who have got hurt, bleeding, men who are still waiting inside the different areas. All this is very much evident here. But how long will this go on is something that we'll have to wait and watch. So far, one thing is clear. EPS faction has a clear majority and a clear victory today. They have been able to, elect a single leader who is Edappadi K Palanisawmy as the interim general secretary of the party. But at the same time, what will be the fate of O Pannerselvam? How much longer is he going to continue in the AIADMK party headquarters? What is his next action plan along with his supporters? Those are all questions that needs to be answered.
All right, Akshay, we'll come back to you for more on that. Do continue to be with us. We are staying with these visuals of these dramatic pictures of the protesters, supporters of Edappadi Palanisawmy and O Pannerselvam clashing this morning. It's time for a quick commercial break and news continues in just 2 minutes.
Traveling from different parts.
Armed with facts,
Looking at political black.
she takes the news by its horns.
Do you think the future of these students are not hampered?
Fierce, bold and direct, setting the tone for the biggest stories from every corner and every angle. Expect nothing but the unfiltered truth.
News first, niceties later. Watch me, Nabila Jamal, on India Today.
Make your media plan smarter with India Today Live TV on your connected devices. Everyone's busy finding what's trending. You're busy finding out why. India Today for those who research before reacting. Download the India Today app now. Make your media plan smarter with India Today Live TV on your connected devices.
You are watching India Today.
Kerala's public health. All political parties traveling from different parts.
Armed with facts,
Looking at political black.
she takes the news by its horns.
You think the future of these students are not hampered?
Fierce, bold, and direct. Setting the tone for the biggest stories. From every corner and every angle. Expect nothing but the unfiltered truth.
News first, niceties later. Watch me, Nabila Jamal, on India Today.
With every sunrise comes new beginnings, new opportunities, and new stories. And that's why we're first up. While you're sleeping, we're hard at work to ensure you get the perfect news shot every morning. Get you all the updates. Our morning mission to get you news that's fresh and packed with flavor. Watch First Up every weekday morning with me, Akshita Nandagopal, right here on India Today.
Pour les entrepôts de préparation de commandes, donc typiquement un de nos clients est Cdiscount. Si vous passez une commande chez Cdiscount, avant c'est des gens qui dans un entrepôt essayaient de retrouver le téléphone et la coque de téléphone que vous aviez commandé, qui pouvaient faire jusqu'à 15 km par jour dans des entrepôts immenses.
I don't read the news. I read between the lines to tell you the true version of events, the true story of our times.
To document grief, the toughest assignment for any journalist to be.
From those who matter.
Women politicians going to stick up for each other.
Of those who should matter. I document the truth. I don't distort the truth. I don't glamorize the truth. I don't gloss over the truth.
The ghosts of India's contentious medieval history have come knocking again.
I hustle for the truth. On the ground, in the newsroom, in the studio. I don't try to grab eyeballs.
I inform you to make you see the point.
To the point with Preeti Chaudhary. At these times, only on India Today.
Kerala's public health. All political parties traveling from different parts.
Armed with facts,
Looking at political black.
she takes the news by its horns.
You think the future of these students are not hampered?
Fierce, bold, and direct. Setting the tone for the biggest stories. From every corner and every angle. Expect nothing but the unfiltered truth.
News first, niceties later. Watch me, Nabila Jamal, on India Today.
With every sunrise comes new beginnings, new opportunities, and new stories. And that's why we're first up. While you're sleeping, we're hard at work to ensure you get the perfect news shot every morning. Get all the updates. Our morning mission to get you news that's fresh and packed with flavor. Watch First Up every weekday morning with me, Akshita Nandagopal, right here on India Today.
Going straight to some news just coming in, the chorus to drop off form. Virat Kohli is growing now. After Kapil Dev, now ex-pacer Prasad has spoken. Former pacer Venkatesh Prasad tweeted in a quote, "There was a time when you were out of form, you would be dropped irrespective of reputation." Saurav, Sehwag, Yuvraj, Zahir, Bhaji, all of them have been dropped when not in form. They have gone back to domestic cricket, scored runs and staged a comeback. The yardsticks seem to have changed drastically now, where there is rest for being out of form. This is no way to progress. There is so much talent in the country and can't play on reputation. One of India's greatest match winner, Anil Kumble, sat out on so many occasions. Need actions for larger good. Demands in fact growing for Virat Kohli to essentially step back. Given that he's not been informed, there are several former cricketers including Kapil Dev. Also ex-pacer Prasad now hitting out Venkatesh Prasad, saying that there was a time when many of these cricketers had to sit out. So why have the standards and the yardsticks now changed? Nikhil Naz, our consulting editor, is getting us more details and perspective on that story. While there is a section who are saying that why should the yardsticks now change for Virat Kohli, there are others who've said, that this is unfair and that Virat Kohli must continue. So the opinion is split, Nikhil, right in the middle, isn't it?
Well, that's right, Sneha. If you'd asked me this question maybe 3 to 4 months ago, I would have said no question on Virat Kohli. There's no way that anyone could even think of leaving him out of the Indian team. However, his continuous run of poor form has now started raising these questions. And now, as you mentioned, there is a debate. And I also, gauging from the fan reaction on social media, not just what the experts or what former players are saying, even gauging from fan reactions, a lot of people out there do feel that maybe it's time to look beyond Virat Kohli in just the T20 format. Now, when we talk about Virat Kohli, we're looking at Virat Kohli, the batsman in all formats, and he's been outstanding. In fact, if I just look at T20 cricket, his overall figures are probably the best in the world. The kind of runs that he's got at an average, at the strike rate that he gets, it's all outstanding. But I think the other reality alongside that is the fact that India has been waiting to get that ICC trophy for a long time. The last time they held an ICC trophy was way back in 2013. They've had a few disappointments after that, be it the 2015 World Cup, the 2019 World Cup, and then more recently the T20 World Cup in 2021. And I think what every fan or a former player at the moment wants is India to lift that coveted ICC trophy, which is going to happen this year in Australia. And I think this debate has started looking at that particular tournament. Also because now we've gotten to see, now the reality of Indian cricket is that we now have a situation, there are a lot of cricket happening, so a lot of bench strength being tested. So we had a series in Ireland recently where you tested a few batsmen that don't get a regular opportunity to play, and they've all come good. So the debate now is that these youngsters who you give them a chance, you see them in the IPL, they're doing well. Should a more established player be holding on to his place and not allow a youngster then to be in the team? And I think that's where the debate is. For the moment, the reality is such, if you heard from Rohit Sharma, the Indian captain, he's come out and backed Virat Kohli. He said that, listen, Virat Kohli, we know from within inside the circle, within the team, we know that he's an essential part of our team and we're going to back him. So people can say whatever they want on the outside. Experts, as you call them, this is quote unquote what Rohit said last night, referring to, let's say, a Kapil Dev or a Venkatesh Prasad, whose tweets you've just taken. He said experts may have an opinion, but we know from the inside what's happening. And I think that this is not mere lip service from Rohit Sharma. If you take a look at how Virat Kohli has been playing, he's been playing to the template, the new template that the Indian team is trying to come up with. So it clearly indicates that he's in the plans of this Indian team. That said, the T20 World Cup isn't too far away. There will be 16, 17 games before you select the team for that T20 World Cup. And God forbid, if Virat Kohli doesn't find his form back, and then the other youngsters knocking on the door. So it's going to be a close call whether Virat Kohli then makes it to that T20 World Cup, to that flight that will be going to Australia.
Nikhil, I'm just wondering what prompted Rohit Sharma to come out and say these things that he has. Yes, he's supporting Virat Kohli, defending his slump in form really there. But to say that what makes these people experts is something that I would see rather as a snub to all of these cricketers like Kapil Dev, who's come out and said that this is not okay, isn't it?
Well, that's true. In fact, he used the word saying, why do you call them experts? I mean, he may have a point. I think he wasn't really, trying to target them. And he said maybe expert may not be the right word to use for them. And maybe you could use something like a former player. That said, he did say that we from the inside, and he didn't agree with the experts or former players, saying that we from the inside have a different view, which may be the truth. It quite often happens that, what the team is thinking or the team management is thinking is very different for people who are on the outside, whether they are fans, whether they're journalists, whether they are former players. That may be the reality, but he can't ignore what is being said on the outside. But I must tell you that while you agree that the view within the team is going to be more, the emphasis is going to be what tactical changes have to be made, or what is the kind of template you're going to be playing with. The view from the outside is also important. And sometimes when you're within, you can't get that 360-degree view, which a former player can. So sometimes I think whoever the captain would be, and it's very normal for a captain to back his player, no less than a player like Virat Kohli, who's been an outstanding servant to the game. But sometimes it helps to take that outside view as well, because that actually tells you, what may be going wrong. Sometimes you're so consumed with the daily routine in terms of your training or, planning your 11 or what kind of template you're going to play with, that sometimes you tend not to see the bigger picture. And then for that reason, I think they need to be receptive to what is being said. However, I must tell you, whatever the team might decide, and I think the captain will play a role in who will be selected or not, and Rohit Sharma is going to be very, very crucial for that. But there are other people also who are sitting on the outside. When I say outside, they're not part of that team, whether they are the selectors, whether they are some very important members of the BCCI, that will also play a role when eventually the team is decided. And whether then the captain and everyone else who will be part of that decision-making process are on the same page, that will be interesting going forward. For the moment, as I said, you can see indications, and as I said, I don't think what Rohit Sharma is saying is just mere lip service or just backing his player for the sake of the media. There's clearly something that has been spoken between Rohit Sharma, Virat Kohli. You can make that out just by the nature of the shots that Virat Kohli has played in the last two T20Is. If you've seen Virat Kohli over the years, you know that he's a bit of a grafter. He takes his time, he likes to get set and then get going, but he's been playing overly aggressive the last few T20 games, which tells you that he's trying to come in line with what the team wants to go forward.
Nikhil, I'm just coming back to you in a bit from now. In fact, we also have a soundbite, a reaction from Rohit Sharma. Let's listen in.
ये एक्सपर्ट लोग मुझे पता नहीं कौन है, एक्सपर्ट क्यों बोला जाता है उनको, मुझे वो नहीं समझ में आता है। नहीं, देखिए वो बाहर से गेम देख रहे हैं, उनको पता नहीं अंदर क्या चल रहा है। ये हमेशा हमें ध्यान में रखना चाहिए। जब आप ऐसे कमेंट्स बाहर निकलते हैं तो ये चीज ध्यान में रखना चाहिए कि प्लेयर का क्वालिटी कभी खराब नहीं होता, तो उस क्वालिटी को बैक किया जाता है क्योंकि प्लेयर के पास क्वालिटी है और हम वो क्वालिटी देख के प्लेयर को बैक करते हैं। और ये मेरे साथ हुआ है, XYZ के साथ हुआ है, सबके साथ हुआ है, तो इसमें कोई नई बात नहीं है।
Nikhil Nas continues to be with us. Also, there's a huge debate, not just amongst many of these people who are talking about this long rope really that is being given to Virat Kohli, but also within the social media. It's a buzz with what next for Virat Kohli, Nikhil?
Well, I did a bit of number crunching, the last few days because there's been a big debate about, whether he should be part of the team or not. And I think the problem here, and you really need to look deep into it, is that it's not just Virat Kohli again. It's just also Rohit Sharma's form at the moment. And if you take a look at the form of the two, that I think is worrying. I've taken a look at the last 45 T20 matches, and I include IPL in that because it's the same format and we consider IPL being at the international level. So if you combine the T20 international numbers with the IPL numbers of these two, they're about 45 odd games both of them have played. They're averaging in just, the early 30s or the late 20s, the two of them. The strike rate is 120 for one and 130 for the other, which also is not ideal in T20 cricket. The question now is, can you fit the two of them in the same IPL team or in the same T20 team going forward to the T20 World Cup? And for this, most experts believe that this may not be the right path for the Indian team to take if they want to win that T20 World Cup. As I mentioned, it's been 9 years since they last won the ICC trophy. So I think the debate also comes from there. But of course, there'll be less questions asked of Rohit Sharma, simply because Rohit Sharma, as you know, is the captain of the team. Also joining me is Rajdeep Sardesai, the consulting editor with India Today. Rajdeep, what are your thoughts? I know the opinion is divided, and I'm not just talking about the experts. I often go on to social media and see that for the very first time, I see the opinion divided amongst fans as well. And then there is a section that feels that, yes, he's got the legacy, yes, he's a big name, but the way forward in T20 cricket is to have a younger team.
Nikhil, I really think that social media and fans should not decide the selection of a team. Virat Kohli has become a polarizing figure, unfortunately, but that alone cannot decide whether he remains in the team or not. At the end of the day, I think the selectors have to decide. As you said, the call has to be taken. Do you want a completely fresh, informed team of younger talent for the T20 World Cup and take your chance with them? Or do you want to have a mix of experience and youth? This is the call that has to be taken. I still believe that Virat Kohli and Rohit Sharma perhaps have one more big T20 tournament in them. I think that perhaps this year's tournament could be, in a way, a last hurrah for the two of them, and then maybe they should purely be focusing on either the 50-over World Cup and Test cricket. But that's a call that has to be taken. Do we have 6 better batsmen than Virat and Rohit, and Virat in particular? Yes, you've got a Surya Kumar Yadav. Yes, you've got a Huda who's come along strongly. But beyond that, does the middle order have 4 other players who you would pick ahead of a Virat Kohli? I'm not so sure. So I think the larger call that has to be taken is what kind of a team do you want to take to Australia? Because remember, Australia, Nikhil, is not the easiest place to blood talent. So either you have to have complete confidence that you have 6 players better than Virat Kohli today in T20 format, or else go along with Virat and Rohit and pick another 4 or 5 batsmen around them, many of whom could well displace Virat during the tournament. But going into a big tournament like this without a Virat Kohli, well, we've got to be sure about the talent that we have before we take that big call.
All right, Vikrant Gupta also joins us, executive editor with Aaj Tak and India Today. Vikrant, answer that question that Rajdeep raises. In the top six batsmen in T20 cricket, I'm going to eliminate 2 of those spots because one is the captain in Rohit Sharma, the other will be a wicket-keeper. So you're left with 4 spots. Can you fit in a Virat Kohli as the best T20 11 if you make of the Indian team?
If I were to pick the team yesterday, I won't have picked him. But like Rajdeep said, everybody's just one afternoon, evening away from glory. So you never know. In the ODIs, which I feel is the best format for Virat Kohli to find form. If he gets runs in the ODIs, he gets his confidence back. It'll also be very interesting to see, Nikhil, the T20 team for the West Indies tour will be announced today. And we had heard that Virat had asked for rest on that tour. Now, whether or not he would be rested or would he be selected, it remains to be seen. I would want him to go to the West Indies. He needs to fight it out. I mean, he can't find form in T20s by just sitting out. The Indians would also need a closure on many other players. I agree with Rajdeep that you would need the solidity and the experience of players like Rohit and Virat in Australia. I also feel that you cannot carry any baggage in the T20 World Cup. I mean, remember what happened last year in Dubai.
So if you go with the same mindset, if you go with the same clothes, you're not going to win the Australia T20. You need to have something new. Inform Virat, obviously an asset to the team, but I think it is more than the runs and the strike rate. It is the manner in which Virat has played or has not played. I mean, look at the 2 test matches, look at the 2 innings here. It does seem to me, looking from outside, that he's been preempting situations. He looks as if he decides, okay, today I'm going to play like this, and he sticks to that. Whereas any player who's in the peak of his form will play one ball at a time, play the ball on its merit. I mean, the older days, Virat would have hit a boundary, a 6, and then maybe left the ball alone, which means that he doesn't have confidence on his ability. He thinks that he thinks that there's pressure around him through the youngsters who are coming in the ranks. So I think it's not going to be easy. It's not an easy decision as well. But I think the problem in India is we tend to cling on to our slots. It's just a T20 format. It's not Test cricket. It's not one-day matches. It's just a T20 format which you've got to decide. I agree with Rohit. Any captain, any leader would defend his players and should defend his players, more so if it's Virat Kohli. But I don't buy to this argument of the outside noise, nobody being an expert, only the team knows what works for them. Remember, they said this last year as well. And we know what happened in Dubai in the T20 World Cup. So I think I was listening to you also. And there are times when you have a better view from the outside. And it's Kapil Dev. If it's Sunil Gavaskar, Kapil Dev, you don't call them outside noise, do you?
No, absolutely not. That's a valid point. And as I mentioned earlier, that sometime you're so caught up within the Indian team about, deciding the 11s or doing tactical changes that sometimes you forget the larger picture, and it helps for someone on the outside then to really point out what may be going wrong. I'll go back to Rajdeep. Rajdeep, Vikrant makes a very valid point, that, okay, fine, we now we've seen it in the last 2 years that Virat hasn't been in the best of forms, right? We know that he's an established batsman. We know he's a certified great of the game, but not has been in his best form. So what does one do when you're not in good form? As Venkatesh Prasad pointed out in his tweets, you go back. Either you play domestic cricket. We've seen great batsmen of Mumbai cricket in the past to come and play for their local clubs like Dada Unions and what have you. In Virat's case, there is another school of thought that no, he needs to rest. He's playing too much cricket. He's asked for rest for the series that will be coming in the West Indies. At least he's not part of the ODI squad. That's already been announced. How do you view this? When you're not in form, should you be playing more cricket or should you be asking for rest?
There are two ways again to look at it. I think 20 years ago when domestic cricket was really strong, you really went back to domestic cricket to get back your form. I'm not so sure that domestic cricket is strong enough for you to rediscover your form to make you fit today for international cricket. The gap is huge and getting wider by the day. What I would suggest is that a Virat Kohli can take a complete break if he wants. And if there is a break from any format that he wants to leave, it should be T20. Because I think T20 is also evolving so fast that it's a format where it's very difficult to rediscover your form. Because you have to go in and start playing shots almost from the word go, for which you need form and freshness all the time. So if there is any format which Virat should give a break to, it is T20. I believe Virat Kohli has much to offer Indian cricket in ODI and Test cricket, because there I believe the skills that Virat brings are unique, and I still think he's easily among the top 6 when it comes to those two formats. If there is therefore a format where I would give Virat Kohli a break, and I think he should take a break and say, look, I'm through with T20 cricket, I'm going to play Test and ODIs. That's not a bad call to take in life, because it might well prolong his Test and ODI career. There's a big World Cup coming up in ODIs next year in India, and I'm sure Virat...
When would you want that break? When would you want that break from T20 cricket? Before the T20 World Cup? I mean, these next 16, 17 matches are very crucial. Or you would rather have him take that break after the T20 World Cup? Because as I mentioned earlier, last ICC trophy way back in 2013, I don't think, the Indian cricket ecosystem can take another disappointment at an ICC tournament.
Look, I've always believed T20 tournaments are a bit of a lottery. Like it or not, it depends on... the skill factor is very different. So if I were to take a break, I think the selectors should put an arm around Virat and perhaps get him to take a break right away and say, look, you're not in our scheme of things for the T20 World Cup. Why don't you take a 6-month break now? This is the time, if he has to take a break before a test series comes back in the winter, to take that break. But I think this needs to be done, I maintain, without this outside noise. I know that I'm not referring to the greats of the game when I say outside noise, but I said at times there is this social media echo chamber which is pushing selectors to take decisions, putting extra pressure, I think, on the players. Look, Virat, I know, as I said, has become a polarizing figure because, he's always sort of worn his heart on his sleeve in a way, taken on his critics, and maybe this is payback time for some of them. But I still believe that Virat Kohli, as one of the greats of the game, has much to offer Indian cricket. And I think he needs to be handled in a manner that Virat also recognizes his weaknesses and goes back to the drawing board. Whether that drawing board is domestic cricket, county cricket, I don't know. But I do believe, Nikhil, that if there is any format where Virat Kohli should take a break, it should be T20. I think that's the format where Indian cricket can experiment the most. That's where the most exciting young talents are coming in. But I would be a little cautious before suggesting that those exciting young talents alone can win you a T20 World Cup, especially in Australia.
Answer that, Vikrant. I'm just looking at the T20 format and not other formats, as Rajdeep points out clearly. And I don't think there's any debate about not having Virat Kohli part of the Indian Test team or even the ODI team. I think the debate at the moment and whatever the former players are pointing out is limited to T20 alone. Just looking at the way, and as you mentioned, Vikrant, that I think great players are just one knock away from finding their forms. Albeit that the case with Virat Kohli. Maybe is this that one knock away from, getting his form back. But even with his form back, do you think the Indian team, the way T20 cricket is played at the moment, can fit in a Rohit Sharma and a Virat Kohli? Would he then, even if he gets you those runs, would he be able to get you those runs at 150 strike rate, which I think the Indian team right now is trying to implement the way they're playing?
You can't. To be very honest, if you were to pick the team yesterday, you won't have picked both of them. And one of them will get picked because he's the captain and he opens the innings. So, Rohit maybe gets a shoe in. For Virat to be in the World Cup team, he will have to score runs, Nikhil. All said and done, I think we saw what Suryakumar Yadav did yesterday, and maybe this is what the new India will be all about. They were 31 for 3 in 5 overs, yet they finished just 17 runs short of 215, which means that Suryakumar Yadav must have played one of the best knocks seen in the Indian T20 history. Now, there was an opportunity for both Rohit and Virat. They failed. It's okay. You fail in games. But I think, you can't have this dichotomy where you want to play the World Cup, but you want to rest key games. You can't have this stop-start. I think the mistake the players do make at this stage of their career is when they clinch on. Virat scored a 50 against Sri Lanka, I suppose, before the IPL, and didn't play the last T20 game and the next series because he wanted rest. He wanted a break. Now, if he had played the last game, at least, if not the next series, he might have scored another 50 or a 60. That would have helped him. So when you're scoring runs, you need to keep playing. When you're not scoring runs,
Just a bit, Vikrant, on that. Even if I remember he got a 50 in the IPL, and many thought that that's it. Now he's turned a corner. But the point is, even if he gets those 50s or 60s, but at the style or the strike rate that he plays,
Nikhil, there would be games where the strike rate will not be life and death. There will be games where...
Vikrant, I just come back to you. I've just been told that we've got former India cricketer and Syed Kirmani also joining us on the phone line. Thank you so much, sir, for speaking to India today. What we're discussing at the moment, because you've just joined in, is that does Virat Kohli at the moment merit a place in the Indian T20 setup, considering, we're in the T20 World Cup here? He's not been having a great run with the bat. What do you make of that?
Well, I suppose it's, I can't at the moment. You're talking to me right now? Hello?
And we can hear you.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, we can, sir.
Yes, you can, yes. Now, I have to go back a little bit on Virat Kohli when he was considered, and I also mentioned that he was the most consistent batter and a prolific scorer on all the three formats, right? And after that, you see now the bat form comes on to an individual as well as a team as well. So on those bases, a quality player like Virat Kohli, I'm amazed and I'm a little surprised as to why he's not coming back into his batting form. It's a very confused state of mind I am in. A player of his caliber, you see, committing similar mistakes, playing a ball which is outside the off stump, which is moving away, and he's sneaking into the keeper or in the slip cordon. So on those bases, I'm not very sure about what he has on his mind, why he is into such a bad form. And coming on to the selections of the team now, obviously there is so much of competition in this current era of cricket. If you are not performing on one or two innings, however experienced you might be, you see the selection committee takes a call and says, yes, that's it, go back to your domestic cricket, come back into your form, and then we will see whether we can get you into the Indian team again at all or not. This has been the format, but according to the whims and fancies of the selection committee and the kind of aura which Virat Kohli is having at the moment, I don't know what the selection committee is deciding upon Virat Kohli. So on those bases, I think Virat has to think about coming back into his original form. You see, and a quality player of his caliber cannot be running into a bad form for such a long time. It is very difficult to take a call on Virat Kohli right now.
Why do you, sir, say it's difficult to take a call on him? You mentioned that, he's a player of repute, he's a big name. You played in an era where there were big names as well. You played with the likes of, Kapil Dev, Sunil Gavaskar. Later you had, Anil Kumble from your neck of the woods. All of these players are very big name, as big as Virat Kohli. But on times they were dropped from the team too. What do you then make of the reasons why? Why would you say that the selectors won't be able to take the decision when it comes to Virat Kohli if they feel he's not informed?
Well, you have taken some big names who were dropped when they were in a bad form. You have not taken my name. When I was at the top of my form, at the pinnacle of my career, I was dropped too. Okay, so on those bases.
So who better than you to tell us?
Running out of form and being dropped, I quite understand. But what about a guy who is at the pinnacle and who has been a consistent performer? I have to talk about myself right now because I am opening up into my own career now, as and when required. Nevertheless, I think I don't know. There is some kind of a. You see, there's a lot of influence which takes place in the selection committee. There's a lot of talk goes on into being the chairman myself. You see, when I was pointing out the merited players to be selected and otherwise, you see, by and large, the bottom line is, you see, when you're honest and sincere, you're not accepted by and large. You're removed, you're harassed, or you're transferred.
All right. I think we can read between the lines. Mr. Kirmani, thank you so much for joining us and giving us that, as Mr. Kirmani there was that, he's idly not informed Virat Kohli at the moment. It will have to be a hard call taken by the selectors going forward. This is also the T20 World Cup. Vikrant, are you still with us? I think we may have lost the line with Vikrant too. But, just to sum up what we've been discussing on India today at the moment, it is all down to the comments made by a few former cricketers in Kapil Dev, Venkatesh Prasad, where they mentioned that maybe the time has come to have that talk with Virat Kohli. And in T20 cricket, maybe time for India to move on Virat Kohli. That was the big focus that we had on India today at the moment. For more news and updates, I'll hand it back to Sneha.
Thanks so much for that, Nikhil. We are shifting focus now to some news that has just come in from the Supreme Court. Let's go straight to that. It's a setback to Uddhav Sena in the apex court. win for Eknath Shinde camp as the court hearing on Maharashtra cases gets delayed further. The Chief Justice has said it is going to take time to set up a bench. The Chief Justice of India has asked the SG or the Solicitor General to request the Speaker to not take any action in the pending disqualification proceedings against the 16 rebel MLAs. The matter essentially has been delayed. Anisha Mathur is with us. Anisha, this essentially means the Speaker can't do anything for the time being. How do you interpret this? What does it really mean for Uddhav Thackeray and his MLAs?
Well, sir, this Maharashtra case is getting more and more complicated by the day with the new Eknath Shinde government now in power. Now, the interesting point is that that senior advocate Kapil Sibal, who had appeared before the court today, has said that there could be action even against the Uddhav camp MLAs, and that's the decision from the Speaker, the new elected Speaker, against the disqualification of the 16 MLAs who had favoured Eknath Shinde. That would be a palpable exercise of biased behaviour, and that is why they had said that this matter needs to be heard. Remember, in the last few weeks, because Maharashtra politics has taken so many twists and turns, now the Supreme Court hearing is also very, very crucial to see, because the Uddhav camp wants the 16 MLAs of the Eknath Shinde camp disqualified. But they're also saying that the new Speaker could take a biased decision, and instead of disqualifying the Eknath Shinde camp MLAs, he could give them relief and instead take action against the Uddhav camp MLAs. The Supreme Court at the moment has taken a decision to not list the matter today or in the next 1 or 2 days. The Chief Justice has said it will take a few days to set up a bench which can look into all of these issues. And therefore, it has asked the Speaker of the Maharashtra Assembly, it has asked the Solicitor General to inform the Speaker of the Maharashtra Assembly to not take any action or take any further proceedings, because the disqualification issue was scheduled to be heard by the Speaker on the 12th, that is tomorrow. And therefore, now the Uddhav camp has said that the Speaker should not take any decisions whatsoever, because the basic question of who remains in power, whether the Eknath Shinde government is legitimate or not, whether the Shinde camp MLAs could face any proceedings or not, and whether the new Speaker could have been elected in the first place. All of these matters are pending before the Supreme Court. So very clearly, as the legal nuances and the legal twists and turns get worked out, the Shinde government in Maharashtra at the moment is sitting pretty. Back to you.
Essentially, Anisha, this means that status quo is going to continue. There aren't going to be any changes until the court decides any further, isn't it?
Well, yes, the status quo as it is right now is likely to continue, because the Supreme Court requested the Speaker of the Assembly to not take any action in these disqualification petitions. So as the Shinde government is and remains in power, the disqualification against the Shinde camp MLAs, that matter will not be heard at the moment. And the pending petitions, because remember, we've seen in the last few weeks multiple petitions filed before the Supreme Court regarding Eknath Shinde's rebellion, regarding the disqualification of the rebel MLAs, then the formation of the new government, the election of the new Speaker, the floor test to put Eknath Shinde in the Chief Minister's chair. All of these steps that have happened in Maharashtra politics are under challenge in the Supreme Court by one camp or the other. And now with the Supreme Court saying they will take a few days to even start hearing these matters, it is status quo in Maharashtra. The Eknath Shinde government remains in power. The Speaker has been requested not to take any action whatsoever. Back to you.
In that sense, it's a big boost also for the Eknath Shinde camp, Anisha?
Well, in a way, you can say that it is a boost for the Eknath Shinde camp, because the court has, at the moment, decided not to hear any of these petitions. At the same time, it also comes as a sigh of relief of sorts to the Uddhav Thackeray camp as well, because they are also worried that the MLAs who are still backing Uddhav Thackeray and the ones who voted against Eknath Shinde in the floor test, they could also face some sort of disqualification or disciplinary proceedings, because now the Eknath Shinde camp is in power in the assembly. So at the moment, as you said, the status quo, both sides are waiting almost with daggers drawn to sort of wait to see what happens to each other's sides, MLAs. But for now, the Eknath Shinde government will remain in power, and yes, it is a win for them, because their MLA's disqualification issue also remains pending. So their MLAs also not to get disqualified at the moment. Those petitions will remain pending. But in a way also because they had hoped, the Uddhav camp had pointed out that the speaker who is now elected, who is now favouring the Shinde camp, could in fact have given relief to these rebel MLAs. So in a way, it is sort of a no-win situation for anyone. Eknath Shinde's MLAs will not face disqualification, but they will also, at the moment, not get a relief of the speaker dismissing their disqualification petitions. So at the moment, the situation remains as it is in Maharashtra.
Be with us. I'm just going to come back to you. Arvind Sawant is also now joining us. Thank you so much for your time. Your reaction to what has been said by the court today, with the Supreme Court asking the Speaker of Maharashtra to keep in abeyance the disqualification proceedings against the Shiv Sena MLAs.
That's what I say. राहत तो लगती है
जी,
लेकिन दूसरी तरफ किसको राहत ऐसे लगता है? भाई डिस्क्वालिफिकेशन में इनिशिएट मत ले लो, लेकिन सरकार चलेगी ना, वो तो मंत्री पद भी दे देंगे। तो ये सरकारी मूलतः संवैधानिक है कि नहीं है, ये मामला है। आपके कानून परिशिष्ट 10 में से जो 2(1)(a) जो कहता है कि भाई किसी गुट को अगर 2/3 भी हो तो अलग अस्तित्व नहीं रहेगा, उसको किसी पार्टी में मर्ज होना होगा। आज तक इस दिशा में कोई कदम नहीं उठाया है, तो ये गुट कौन है? बिना किसी कानूनन व्यवस्था के, कानूनन प्रावधान से, कानूनन सहमति से इसको सरकार बनाने देना और सरकार चलाने देना, यही मूलतः असंवैधानिक है। और इसीलिए मुझे लगता है भी ठीक है, न्यायालय ने इतना तो कहा कि भाई इनके ऊपर कार्रवाई न करे, लेकिन कार्रवाई न करे मतलब उनको राहत मिली तो क्या हो गया? मतलब अब तक न्याय की प्रतीक्षा है ना, अभी भी न्याय की प्रतीक्षा है, हम न्याय की प्रतीक्षा करते हैं।
अरविंद सावंत जी, इसे ऐसा भी देखा जा रहा है कि शायद ये उद्धव सेना के लिए एक सेटबैक है, क्योंकि ये केस अभी सुप्रीम कोर्ट नहीं उठा रही है और ये कह रही है कि ये फर्दर डिले होगा। उद्धव ठाकरे ने और आपके कैंप ने कोर्ट में ये कहा था कि इसकी अर्जेंट हियरिंग होनी चाहिए, कोर्ट कहता है कि अभी नहीं।
वही तो बोल रहा ना
जी,
क्या कहा, उनको राहत दे दी, 16 पे कार्रवाई नहीं करो, और दूसरी तरफ क्या कहा, अध्यक्ष कोई निर्णय न ले। तो ये वाला मामला राहत है, पहले वाला मामला गड़बड़े, आगे चलेंगे, सरकार ऐसी चलती रहेगी। ये तो लोग भी जानते हैं, संविधान की गरिमा को ठेस पहुंचाने का काम शुरू है। उस पर आदरणीय सर्वोच्च न्यायालय से प्रार्थना है कि आपने ही जो कानून में परिशिष्ट 10 में लिखा हुआ है 2(1)(a) में, उस तरह से इस गुट को, ये गुट कौन सा है, अगर वो 2/3 है तो क्या उसे मर्ज होना, विलीनीकरण करना होगा कि नहीं होगा? तो जब तक विलीनीकरण नहीं होता तब उनका अस्तित्व कैसे शुरू है? कानून को ही ठेस पहुंचा रहा है, संविधान को ठेस पहुंचा रहा है।
अरविंद सावंत
मैं आदरणीय सर्वोच्च न्यायालय से अपेक्षा करता हूँ। धन्यवाद।
शुक्रिया अरविंद सावंत हमारे साथ जुड़ने के लिए। So you heard from the Shiv Sena MP, who has in fact said that once again rather reiterated that this government is unconstitutional, reacting to the developments from the Supreme Court today. Remember, the court had been hearing this matter and has now said that the Speaker, though is empowered to decide the disqualification petitions, will have to now hold this decision for some time, is what the court has said. Mustafa is also getting us more details on that story right now. Mustafa, for our viewers who have just joined us, take us through the details of this particular petition of Uddhav Thackeray that was before the Supreme Court.
Yes, the Shiv Sena of Uddhav Thackeray camp had moved with the Deputy Speaker before this government of Eknath Shinde and Fadnavis was formed, and they had said that they want to disqualify 16 MLAs who have rebelled with Eknath Shinde. And these 16 MLAs were issued notice by the Deputy Speaker Nirhari Zirwal. they had moved again in the Supreme Court. The rebel MLAs had moved Supreme Court against these notices which were issued. In the first hearing, the Supreme Court had said that the hearing on this will take place on 11th of July, which is today. And till that time, the Deputy Speaker's powers were kept in abeyance, which means that he cannot take action against these 16 MLAs. And now on 11th of July, when a next date has been given, which means that this issue will continue to be in abeyance. And what has happened meanwhile is that Maharashtra Assembly now has a full-time speaker. Maharashtra Assembly now has a full-time government. Now the Shinde camp and the Fadnavis government is saying that they have the majority and hence they have formed the government, while the Uddhav camp is saying they may well have the majority, they may have a two-thirds Shiv Sena MLAs, but at the same time, what is the law under which they have been recognized, which means that as of now they don't belong to any other party, but still they have been allowed to form the government. This is what Arvind Sawant was earlier saying. So it's an issue which has to be decided in the court. What Uddhav Thackeray is claiming is that as per 10th schedule, if Eknath Shinde has defected with two-thirds of the MLAs, then he has to merge with another political party. But that has not happened yet, and there is no, doesn't look like it will happen, because Eknath Shinde is claiming that he is the Shiv Sena, and the Speaker Rahul Narvekar has given recognition to him that he is the leader of the Shiv Sena legislative party in the assembly. So we'll have to wait and see how these legal cases progress. But yes, the Uddhav Thackeray camp is uneasy about this entire court verdict, because they were hoping that they'll get some relief from now, but it doesn't seem so. The government of Eknath Shinde and Fadnavis will continue in Maharashtra. Back to you.
You know, also, Mustafa, essentially this means status quo and this period of uncertainty also, which is going to continue.
Yes, of course, that seems the case, because it's not only one case now. There are multiple cases which have been filed by Supreme Court in Maharashtra. The Shiv Sena had recently last week approached against the governor, calling for session in which this government was formed. So there are different legal aspects, one of which is that first, the speaker's election earlier during the MVA time, whenever the Mahavikas Aghadi government wanted to call for a speaker's election, the governor said that the issue is pending with Supreme Court, hence speaker cannot be elected. But when Eknath Shinde asked for it, he was given the permission in one day. Meanwhile, this new speaker was appointed and a new government was formed. But the government which has been formed by the Eknath Shinde camp, Eknath Shinde is claiming that he is from the Shiv Sena. The Shiv Sena party chief Uddhav Thackeray is claiming that he has defected, he is a rebellion. A notice of disqualification has been issued against him. How can he be the party? But he has got that recognition in the assembly. So which of the issues the Supreme Court consider? Will the Supreme Court leave it on the Speaker of Maharashtra Assembly to decide what has to be done, or whether it will go on the 10th schedule and decide whether Eknath Shinde should join BJP and merge with BJP, or he can be like this the way it is and continue as the Chief Minister? Back to you.
Mustafa, thanks for getting us up to speed. With that, I'm thanking my colleague Anisha Mathur as well for her perspective on that story. AIADMK General Council has appointed Edappadi K Palanisawmy as the interim General Secretary. The party GCA has adopted a resolution to revive the post of the General Secretary. The election will be held within 4 months to elect the permanent General Secretary. The AIADMK GC was green-lighted by the Madras High Court, which rejected O Pannerselvam's plea to stall the meeting. The meeting has brought an end to the structure of dual leadership within the party that existed ever since 2017. Now, prior to this resolution, OPS was acting as the coordinator, while EPS served as the co-coordinator of the AIADMK. Violent clashes has broken out between EPS supporters and the disappointed supporters of O Pannerselvam on the streets of Chennai, who indulged in stone pelting and physical assaults. OPS supporters barged into AIADMK office and tore up and burned the posters of EPS. Akshay Nath is now getting us more details on that story. Akshay, what's the very latest that you can tell us? A while ago when we spoke, you did mention that the General Council meeting is underway. Has that been concluded? And yes, take us through the details of what has been decided today. What's the big takeaway?
Well, Sneha, now we're seeing that the General Council meeting is still underway at Varnagaram, which is in the outskirts of Chennai city. This is the second time in the last 20 odd days that we're seeing the General Council meeting being called by the AIADMK. On June 23rd, we had the first General Council meeting, which was a planned General Council meeting in which even O Pannerselvam had participated. But taken into consideration that O Pannerselvam had approached the court demanding that no new resolution should be taken up during that meeting, the General Council meeting had called for a special meeting which is being held today on the 11th of July. And during this General Council meeting, the big takeaways are, one, that they have elected a interim General Secretary, which is Edappadi K Palanisawmy. They've also brought an amendment to the bylaw wherein they have said that no longer will the dual leadership, wherein OPS and EPS remained as the coordinator and joint coordinator respectively of the party. Those positions will no longer exist. And now they've also passed a bylaw wherein they're saying that a General Secretary will be the head of the party and an election for that will be conducted in the next 4 months. These are the major pointers that we've seen during the General Council meeting. Apart from that, we're seeing that even now the meeting is in progress and a lot of chorus is coming out from the General Council members who are participating there, demanding that O Pannerselvam be expelled from the party, taking into consideration the anti-party activity that they allege OPS has been involved in. Today, the kind of ruckus which was witnessed outside the AIADMK headquarters is also being pointed out. Just to bring you live updates from the AIADMK headquarters also. Right now, what you can see here are OPS members, supporters who have got inside the AIADMK headquarters. They are the ones who have taken the lead here. O Pannerselvam, along with his close aides, are inside the party headquarters. They have remained mum about their action plan, about what they are going to do next. Well, the visual optics here at least indicate that O Pannerselvam is trying to indicate that he is not going to go down without a fight and he is not going to leave the office of the coordinator which was given to him. He had appealed to the court several times before, stating that the tenure of the coordinator as given by the bylaws was a period of 5 years and he wants to complete that. But since that has been amended today, his post no longer exists. So that is one setback for OPS. And also additionally, we're being told that the Madras High Court has also been critical about the moves of O Pannerselvam in the last few days. Right now, we can see outside the AIADMK headquarters, multiple barricading have been done and police officials are standing on standby. And many of the EPS supporters whom you can see on the other side of the barricade have been removed. Even now, on all 4 entryways of the AIADMK headquarters, we're seeing that police presence is there and they have barricaded this entire locality to ensure that there is no untoward incidents. And right now, when we just see generally this area, you can see how several stones, broken chairs, toned down banners, all of this is the sight here at the AIADMK headquarters. Situation continues to remain tense as we are still uncertain about the next move of both these political leaders, which is EPS and OPS. We are being also told that EPS, after the meeting in Varnagaram, is likely to come to
Be with us, Akshay. We have some news just coming in. We are going straight to that. Some news from the Supreme Court, and this has got to do with Vijay Mallya's transfer of assets to his son. The court has told Vijay Mallya to return $40 million from the sale of United Breweries property to his children. That was void, is what has been said by the Apex Court. All money transferred by Mallya to be returned to the loan recovery officer with 8% interest. So more trouble there brewing for Vijay Mallya. Anisha Mathur is tracking all of those details. Anisha, just break this down for us. What has the court really said? There's also the court wrapping Vijay Mallya and sentencing him to 4 months prison as well. Do you have more details on that front too?
So, yes, Vijay Mallya, remember, is facing contempt of court proceedings with regard to failure to repay more than 9,000 crore rupees of bank loans which are related to the Kingfisher Airlines issue. Now, this case has been going on in the court for a very long time. In 2017, when Mallya had sold certain properties belonging to United Breweries. That was a sale for $40 million. Now, he had assured the Supreme Court that that money will be used to repay the bank loan, and that is the only reason why he was allowed to make that transaction to sell off those properties. But instead of repaying the bank loans, he had transferred that $40 million to his children, and the Supreme Court had initiated contempt of court proceedings against him. Now, between 2017 and 2022, that is the last 5 years, the court has been trying to get Vijay Mallya back to India to face contempt proceedings, to get him to repay some part of that loan that he still owes to the banking consortium in India. But now, finally, the Supreme Court has issued its sentence. Vijay Mallya will face 4 months of imprisonment plus 2,000 rupees fine as contempt of court. In addition, he and his family, his children, have been directed to return that $40 million plus 8% interest per annum interest. So that means more than $50 million will have to be returned now to the loan recovery officer that has been appointed by the banking consortium, so that at least this money can come back to the banks. The Supreme Court has also noted that despite multiple Mallya has gone to India, he has not even shown any remorse. He has not at all tried to repay the money that he owes the banks, and that is why the Supreme Court has now finally passed its sentence. But the question now remains...
All right, Nisha, thanks for getting us those details. Anisha Mathur with that detailed report on further trouble brewing for Vijay Mallya. With that, it's time for a quick commercial break. Here on the other side, Day 3 of Presidential Palace siege in Sri Lanka and Colombo. Protesters adamant demand resignation of the Prime Minister and the President. We're getting you that story in just 2 minutes.
You are watching India Today.
Make your media plan smarter with India Today Live TV on your connected devices. Amplify your brand with 100 million smart internet viewers. To advertise, mail us at sales@aajtak.com or call 9999892171.
You know Kim Tae-hyung, aka V of pop group BTS fame? Well, he's simultaneously 26, 27 and 28 years old. Confused? How old were you when you were born? 0? 1? In South Korea, you'd be 1 year old. Let's clear the air about this. South Korea has a unique way of calculating age. When a baby is born, it's considered a year old. And as the year changes on January 1st, the child gains a year. So no special birthdays. South Koreans count age based on their birth year and not days. A child born in December will already be 2 by January. But the president-elect Yoon Suk-yeol wants to do away with this traditional system. Because of persistent confusion and unnecessary social and economic costs, the incoming administration is looking to standardize age calculation. This was observed especially when health authorities use the international age and Korean ages interchangeably to set guidelines for COVID-19. This will also help South Korea get in line with the rest of the world. The age conundrum doesn't end here. South Korea also counts age in an international way. That means it counts age in 3 ways. For legal and administrative purposes, the country's been using the international counting system since 1962. In another way, babies are born at 0 and gain a year on New Year's. This method is mainly used to define the legal age for areas of law that affect a significant percentage of the population, including military service conscription. And the third is the Korean age system, where everyone is already a year old at birth and become older on New Year's Day regardless of the birth date. That's how Kim Tae-hyung from BTS fame is simultaneously 26, 27 and 28 years old, as he was born on 30th December 1995. There are multiple problems that arise with age discrepancies. It's led to wage disputes that have been dragged to the Supreme Court and ruled that workers should consider their international age for work. There have also been cases of parents trying to cheat the birth registration system because of worries that their children born in December will be at a disadvantage at school as a result later in life. Efforts were made in 2019 and 2021 to change the law. 2 lawmakers proposed legislation to adhere to the international age, but experts are divided on what the new measure means for Korean society, and the bills were not signed into law.
Make your media plan smarter with India Today Live TV on your connected devices. Amplify your brand with 100 million smart internet viewers. To advertise, mail us at sales@outskirts.com.
You are watching
Have you looked at the back of the water bottle and found that it has an expiry date? The shelf life of water has been debated for long. So let's find out how long stored water remains safe for consumption and what happens if you consume expired water. Treated tap water is safe to consume for up to 6 months if stored well, while sparkling water is safe for up to 1 to 2 years. Tap water might start tasting odd if it gets mixed with the carbon dioxide in the air. However, both tap water and carbonated water are considered safe for drinking for 6 months despite the odd taste. Water in its pure form doesn't expire, but the plastic bottle has an expiry date. Drinking from an expired bottle isn't a good idea. Plastic can start leaching into the water over time and contaminate it with harmful chemicals such as antimony and bisphenol. To preserve water for long, it's important to store it well. The first step is to identify the amount of water to be stored and find a cool and dry place. Copper and steel vessels are ideal for long-term storage. For regular use, one can always opt for BPA-free plastic containers or glass bottles. To avoid contamination, one should refrain from using pipes and fill it directly from the faucet after filtration. If faucet is stored in gallons or drums, there should be a lid on it at all times to avoid contact with air. Exposure to BPA, which is used in plastics, has been known to interfere with reproductive development in animals. It has also been linked with other cardiovascular diseases, immunity diseases, and diabetes in humans. Filtration of water is must. The easiest way is to bring it to boil for around 15 minutes and let it cool. Most modern households use water purifiers nowadays. However, regular servicing of reverse osmosis, purifiers, and changing candles is crucial. Liquid bleaching is rare these days but has been a popular purification method in the past.
Magnificent Mercury is cratered with marks and bruises. The planet was never seen this closely before. A European-Japanese spacecraft, Bepi Colombo, has recently captured images of Mercury for at least 40 minutes from a distance of 800 kilometers. Although the spacecraft went as close as 200 kilometers above planet's surface, key instruments remained shut. This is the second approach made by the spacecraft so far. The spacecraft recorded the transition from the night side to the day side. A breathtaking view of the cratered surface of the planet was captured. This highlighted the boundary between night and day. In fact, the rough terrain was also recorded. All in all, mysterious Mercury's magnetic field, exosphere, core, and the surface processes were grabbed in the camera. A few days ago, human trash was recorded on Mars. Later, it was contemplated it might just be the spacecraft trash.
Make your media plan smarter with India Today Live TV on your connected devices.
You are watching You are watching India Today.
Massive protests continue to take place in Sri Lanka amid political and economic crisis. Opposition party leaders of Sri Lanka have agreed to form an all-party interim government. This comes after the opposition parties held a key meeting to discuss the crisis in the country. Remember, President Gotabaya Rajapaksa has offered to tender his resignation on the 13th of July. The Prime Minister has said he too is offering a conditional resignation. The Sri Lanka Administrative Service Association have written to the Speaker with 12 proposals to be executed in order to make the proposed interim governing successful. The letter also mentions the interim government to be formed must include at most 15 cabinet ministers. Meanwhile, angry protesters refuse to budge and carry on to occupy the presidential palace in Colombo. Protesters were seen roaming through the palace, cooking food in the kitchen, using the pool and gym equipment. 3 suspects, meanwhile, have been arrested over the incident of setting a fire the Prime Minister's house. Former Lankan trader and Captain Sana Jasuria has spoken on the raging Lankan crisis that has rocked the capital city.
I think not only me, it's everyone. This is not my personal thing. This is the whole Sri Lankans, what they wanted, because they've been suffering. So I join with them. Everyone, any sports, you call it, every Sri Lankans who are doing the film stars, the cricketers, athletes, everyone has joined this. So this is what country wants. They're suffering too much. The 9th of July was the People's Day, I should call, and what the people did was we never wants to have violence. Everyone wants non-violence protest, so which we did, and we did it peacefully. And everyone came to Colombo to make sure that the president will resign. So that is the main thing about the protesters. So everyone reached the president house, presidential secretariat, and also the temple trees. So now the people are waiting. What is the next? Because they say that they are resigning, but we haven't heard anything so far.
Ashutosh Mishra is getting us the very latest, joining us from Colombo right now. Ashutosh, we'd put out earlier those reports that you had sent us from inside the president's official house, where protesters continue to pretty much have a gala time. Give us an idea about what really is going on right now. Is the official house of the president still occupied? And the very fact that he's offered to resign now by the 13th of July. Have the protesters been pacified, at least for the moment?
Well, there is only a rejoice and they are celebrating this resignation announcement. However, they have been only saying that until and unless it is done and there is a new government form, they won't withdraw from the Prime Minister's house, from the President's house, as well as the Presidential Secretariat. So right behind me is this entire VVIP area, and right behind is the Colombo Port Trust, where we reportedly using the secret tunnel and the safe house, President Gotabaya Rajapaksa escaped, and he entered through the naval base, and using the Navy fleet Gajabhua, He's somewhere in the Sri Lanka's territory. Right behind me is through the Colombo Port Trust. Now, this is the second day post the deadly clash violence that broke out on 9 July following the protest, massive scale protest in Colombo. The situation remains calm. However, there is totally uncertainty, totally darkness. Since there is virtually no president, and president being a constitutionally, the biggest decision maker, the policy maker, so virtually there is no existence of any government. What we are seeing, the army, the forces, the police, all entire administration has totally collapsed. It is the people virtually running the top institution. They are camping inside, almost like a holidaying in the swimming pool, enjoying the luxury couch, gym. So everything that we are seeing, it is the protesters, and clearly no one has answered that how they gonna, sort this entire crisis. At the moment, there's a slight change what you saw since this morning. Since there was massive mess up, all garbage all around, the protesters turned volunteer and they were started cleaning up the presidential palace, the prime ministerial place, and also the presidential secretariat, appealing people do not damage or vandalize the public property. After all,
we have some news just coming in. Ashutosh, I'm going to connect with you once again on that story, but right now we're shifting focus. Let's see, the story that we're breaking at this hour has got to do with the General Council meeting of the AIADMK, and O Pannerselvam has been expelled from the party's primary membership as post of the treasurer. Is something that has been done away with. The supporters of Pannerselvam have been expelled as well. This was along the expected lines. This was expected. The General Council meeting has, in fact, now decided that there is going to be disciplinary action against O Pannerselvam. Several other decisions have been taken, done away with the dual membership or dual leadership of the AIADMK, and Pannerselvam has now been sacked from the party. His supporters have also been expelled. Essentially, this is disciplinary action against O Pannerselvam, given the developments also from today, where Pannerselvam and his supporters essentially stormed inside the headquarters of the AIADMK in Chennai and pulled down the posters of Edappadi K Palanisawmy, also clashed with the supporters of Edappadi K Palanisawmy. These were violent clashes that we witnessed in the morning. As expected, we were in fact learning from our reporters that there could be some action against O Pannerselvam, given the Madras High Court has also given a green signal to Edappadi K Palanisawmy, so allowed the convening of the General Council, which means that the road seems to be extremely uncertain. The road ahead seems to be extremely uncertain for O Pannerselvam. But right now things have got even more difficult, because O Pannerselvam now has been expelled from the AIADMK. What does this really mean for O Pannerselvam? Will he then explore his legal options even further from here on? Is that something that OPS is looking at? What about his political future, given that the party has decided to remove him and his supporters? He's been expelled. There's been disciplinary action against him. What does this mean for his political future? We don't have the answers to those questions yet, but these are interesting developments. Great churning within the AIADMK, with EPS now sacking O Pannerselvam. Remember, we're talking about a man who was not once but on 2 occasions handpicked by late J Jayalalithaa, and largely Naga seen as the political heir of J Jayalalithaa. She had handpicked him twice. Today, things have changed to the extent that he and his supporters have been thrown out of the party, given the developments from today morning. Naga.
Just beside the station, moments before OPS was expelled from the primary membership of AIADMK, not just OPS,
He was expelled from the primary membership of AIADMK, not just OPS, his close aides like Prabhakaran, Vaidhyalingam, all of them have been expelled from the primary membership. There was a demand from the members here saying that OPS has been doing anti-party activities. He's been associated with DMK, and whatever he has done in the last few months has been benefiting the DMK, and his closeness has increased with the DMK, and that's the reason why there was a demand that he should be expelled. In fact, the demand was some action must be taken, but today the General Council has gone ahead and moved a special resolution saying that OPS henceforth is not a part of AIADMK. Remember, it's a very big move. A year back, OPS was the head of the party and the deputy chief minister, but today sides have turned around. EPS has taken over the reign of AIADMK. Now he will be the unilateral leader for the AIADMK party. He will be the chief minister face in the upcoming election. He will be the party chief. He is the party supremo. So the doors are closed for OPS in terms of High Court, in terms of the party. Little it can be done from now. What it feels for OPS now, because he will be thrown out of the party premises right away. Remember, this morning he had gone to the party headquarters and his associates and his supporters took up stone pelting and in fact tried to burn the posters of Edappadi K Palanisawmy. Right now what has happened is, over the course of the last 3 hours, things have changed for OPS, and right now he has been expelled from the primary membership of the party. It's a big move from Deputy Chief Minister and the Supremo of the party. A day has come for OPS where he is not even the primary member of the party. He's been expelled. Along with him, 3 other associates of OPS who have been very close to him. In the last 1 week, they are the ones giving out statements, putting out tweets. Even they have been expelled. A special resolution was moved here at the General Council meeting, and it was agreed upon by everyone, a unilateral decision that OPS has nothing to do with the AIADMK party.
Yes, and these are allegations, Akshay, that have been made. There has been hobnobbing with the DMK. This is what has been said against O Pannerselvam. What are the other things that have been said while taking a decision that he needs to go? He needs to be expelled.
Well, Sneha, there were multiple bone of contentions against O Pannerselvam, and most of the senior leaders of the AIADMK during the General Council meeting, we're being told, had stepped forward criticizing O Pannerselvam and stating that action needs to be taken. They had spoken about how he had approached the court on multiple instances and stalled the party's affairs, movement, and that is not acceptable. So any leader who's trying to do that is doing an anti-party activity, is what the senior leaders of the AIADMK had to say. And according to that appeal which was made by the senior leaders, it is seen that O Pannerselvam, along with his close aides, JCD Prabhakaran and Vaidilingam, these are the 2 men who have been constantly standing along with O Pannerselvam during this entire time. They have also been expelled from the party, and right now outside the AIADMK headquarters we can see that there is a tense situation. We were told that O Pannerselvam was likely to come out. His car has been started, and at this time what we are being told is he will not be talking to the press. He will only be giving out a statement. So we'll have to wait and watch about that. But this is a huge move that has come here, where Edappadi K Palanisawmy, after taking charge as the interim general secretary, has, along with the senior leaders of the party, expelled O Pannerselvam, a very senior member of the AIADMK. Also, I'll point out the court reading. Sneha, the court, while giving its judgment today, has very clearly said that the court does not have the jurisdiction to talk about an intra-party affair. So they've called whatever is happening within the AIADMK as an intra-party affair, and says that the court does not have the jurisdiction to get itself involved in it. They further said that with regard to any aspect of matters such as nomination, election of leadership, amendment of bylaws, etc., it is within the political party's jurisdiction, and it is an indeed no-go area for courts. So the court has also very clearly said that it does not have its jurisdiction as far as the party's internal matter is concerned. So it seems like OPS might not have a solution of going back to court again, because the single judge bench which was hearing the case has not only given a green signal for the AIADMK General Council meeting, but also has very clearly put it out that in an internal party affair, affair, it will not be able to get involved. So, it seems like it's an end game for O Pannerselvam within the AIADMK, as a majority of the cadres and senior leadership is in favor of Edappadi K Palanisawmy. At least earlier during the court hearing on Friday, we had seen that EPS's faction had suggested that if there is a need be, or if O Pannerselvam likes, he can contest for the General Secretary's post. But unfortunately, at this point of time, with him being expelled, that option is also gone, Sneha.
That option has also gone. He finds no place within the AIADMK, with the General Council taking this decision of expelling O Pannerselvam and his supporters. Akshay, I'm thanking you for the moment. I'm thanking my colleague Nagarjun as well for getting us up to speed with all of those developments. Edappadi Palanisawmy is speaking right now. Let's go straight to that.
மூத்த கட்சியினுடைய தலைவர் அண்ணன் சி பொன்னையன் அவர்களே, இந்த வேளையிலே சிறப்பாக எழுச்சியுரை ஆற்றி அமர்ந்திருக்கின்ற கழக அமைப்பு செயலாளர், திண்டுக்கல் மாவட்ட மேற்கு மாவட்ட கழக செயலாளர், முன்னாள்